Well, today we're going to talk about, of course, Castles and Crusades. We've gone through characters, we've gone through the basics, we've gone through magic, we've gone through somewhat a little bit. We touched on equipment and encumbrance and all that stuff like that. Today, we're going to do the Castle Keeper in the game, right?
Basically, the game says I'm skipping most of the Castle Keeper part unless you really want to go through it. It's the same basic stuff you get from most games. We'll cover just touch on a little bit.
We'll touch on it. But then we're going to go over a little bit of combat, how that works, and let's see what else.
That's pretty much it. It's just the game system. Yeah. That's all that's really left is the game system and think of it as GM notes. And
it gives examples on when skill checks are going to be required, or attribute checks, because that's all they have here. Attribute checks. When they're required, when not to do, stuff like that. It's just tips, tricks.
So Shadzar says, still to be ready to rage today. I don't know if it's going to be rage, but you're going to see some things in here that I think Heathen Dog and I might agree with that you don't, but we'll see how that goes. All right, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I will start. There's going to be one section I might even just get up and walk away from when that language starts happening, because not only does it trigger me with the stupid words, it's got some other stuff. It's like it was written by a fucking 5-year-old. So, but when we get to that section, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll drink some soup or something here.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. That way you can rest. Okay, before embarking upon the road of adventure, it is necessary that you, the Castle Keeper, decide what type of game you want to play. Doing this takes a modicum of preparation, and a number of factors have to be considered. Shall the game be an epic campaign lasting for years of play, or shall it be a night's adventure? Is glory or gold or both to be the adventurer's reward? What is it? The mood, tone and pace, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, of course, you have to decide that. I mean, this is a classic game session 0 type thing, where you give everyone the general overview of the world, how it works, how dark it is, how gritty it is, or if not, how little grit, how little darkness, whatever. And you read the room, like how long do they want to play?
Krantz asked if there's player agency. Well, here's the thing. Heathen Dog's reading it, not me. I know the answer to that one.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't read it yet. This is new. So this is all stuff you have to talk to your characters about, your players about their characters. Do they want to, just do this for a little while? Do they want to do it for a long term? Do they like to stick with characters over the, whole of their career? Or do they like to jump around and try new things? That is going to tell you how the game is going to progress in the future. So yeah, get it.
Can you skip down to settings because the second paragraph is just more of the same.
Okay, settings and theme, pace, mood are as important to the style type of game. Mastering these elements may take time and a keen perception of what the players want, but once mastered, you can capture your audience and keep them enthralled through night after night of role-playing. Hey, why does role-playing have to be at night?
Because you're going to play so long, because you're starting in the morning, you're going to play so long that it goes into the night and you won't even notice.
Oh, wow. It's heavy stuff. All right. And the following section briefly examines these elements and offers you advice on how to mix them, control them, manage them, and create an exciting night's game. Okay. Style and mood of play. Many game styles that are players. Some players enjoy the intricate and detailed theatrical games where first-person representations of characters, non-player characters, and monsters lead to extensive role-playing. Okay, this is the story-heavy game system where
that's me. I'm one of those people that said, well, okay, I think what my character would do is talk to Heathen Dog and say, hey, how are you doing today? Dude, my eyes start squinting and I start wanting to throw things at people, unless the person's new. It's like, just say it in character.
Yeah, so this is more of an acting type thing. And then the other way is you're going just hack and slash type thing. If you go to the exact opposite way, then you're all about the roles. Are your characters, the players, all about the roles? Are they about the numbers? Then if you want them to enjoy the game, you're going to have to tailor the game to the players' proclivities.
And a good game master is actually going to understand this.
Yeah.
I've been in a number of games where it would be role play heavy, and then one person just does everything, everything, perfect synergy across the board. It might not seem like much at first, but by 5th, 6th level, it's literally 2 adventures. One for that character and one for the rest of us, because we can't compete with that. And of course, that's the one player. It's always the one player's like, well, you don't know how to build your characters correctly. No, I actually built a character. not a spreadsheet.
Machine.
So, but on the flip side, don't be the person who comes in all thee and thou thespian trying to buck the system and take all the negative traits and so on and so forth. If the game masters, or in this case, Castle Keeper, says, hey, this is going to be a high combat world, probably won't be a lot of time for role playing, and this is going to be challenging, so you're probably going to want to play to your character strengths, stuff like that. So the Castle Keeper hopefully explains that well enough and then sticks to it.
Right. So that's basically that. Then we move on to maintaining pace. This is a lot of game masters, and I imagine Castle Keepers as well, have a problem with this. Pace follows mood and importance.
Where are you seeing that?
It's the next page.
Oh, next page. Wow, you skipped one. All right.
To keep players enthralled with the game, it is necessary to maintain a steady overall pace. A healthy mixture of role-playing, problem-solving, and combat is a tried-and-true method. Mixing these in just the right manner can be difficult, but once you've perfected the method,
there's no such thing.
The game becomes dramatically better. What was that?
There's no such thing as perfected.
No. But seasoned. You can be seasoned.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people can see this. I mean, that's why they have random encounters. They don't have to be random. Nothing the Game Master or Castle Keeper does has to be random. So if you're really in a role play heavy and you see people breezing out, you see them, their eyes are starting to dim, then you throw in that random encounter to bring them back to the action, bring them back to a fight, to get their adrenaline going.
That is one of the things. I always have some sort of random encounter in my back pocket. Just even if it's just a social random encounter.
Yeah, just something, something to break what they're doing, because what they're doing, while vital to the story and maybe important to, completing the adventure, can get a little boring. You might have to break it up. Like you're having a long discussion at a meeting point with a contact of the Black Guild, and you're trying to convince him to roll over on his people. And this is taking long time, lots of rolls. People are starting to breeze out. You randomly encounter other Black Guard members that come in saying, we knew it. Harold, you're a fucking traitor. And then you have to fight them. You have to make sure none of them get away so Harold's cover is not broken. But at the end of this combat, if you're victorious, Harold's now scared shitless, and he's much more willing to turn. So that helps resolve the situation that was causing people to breeze out. There you go. Done. Now, you can do it 100 ways. That was just off the top of my head, but that is a way to break monotony when you see your players breezing out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll move on to scale of the game. That's the next page. Knowing the style of the game your group desires makes it easier for the Castle Keeper to decide what type of game to run. Generally, games are centered around a single adventure or module, but often ambitious Castle Keepers set themselves the task of creating a campaign. Campaigns usually involve a party going on extended adventures, often beginning at low level and ranging to the very high levels. Okay. Now, this doesn't have to be hard, all right? Because modules for this game, for D&D, AD&D, AD&D Second Edition, all these, and I'm sure in other Dungeons & Dragons iterations, they have level ranges on them, right? So you start off with 1 to 4 or 1 to 3 or whatever. Then you, as the group progresses, you throw in these modules. But if you want to create a campaign, there has to be some kind of overarching villain or task that has to be completed. That can only be actually completed when they reach high levels. So
exactly.
You only have to make a couple of adventures. You as the keeper have to create a couple of adventures to not only continue and build on this overarching theme or villain, but you have to make them fit, be the mortar between the modules to make sure them going from one module to another makes sense. So if
I use modules actually as the side adventures, the side quests, the leveling things, whatever, for characters to do outside of my campaign. So I do like to throw them in, but I do it literally the exact opposite way. It's like I use them as side quests. I just change the intro, like how you break into it, so on and so forth.
Well, that's fine. That is just fine. But the thing is that it takes some pressure off of you as the keeper, because you don't have to build every single adventure to make sure it fits perfectly inside your giant campaign. No, you can build 3, 4, maybe at most 5 adventures, and then you buy 5 modules. You just make sure that you build these adventures to segue from module to module while keeping the integrity of your story. So now you only have to build half of the adventures.
So to answer Kranz's question, do you guys find people not paying attention to action when it's not their turn? This drives me nuts.
Yes.
Yes. My most poignant story for Heathen Dog, because he'll probably remember this, is one of our players used to bring a Game Boy to the table all the time. And I used to tell him to put it away, and he flat out told me no. And with the exception of the fact that it would turn into a pissing match that would make everything unfun at the table. Yeah, I mean, he did put it away most times, but there are some times he'd just be like, no, I'm not putting it away. Well, I can tell you now, I'm not in my 20s anymore, in my 40s, get the fuck out of my game. It's just going to be like that. You're paying attention to the game. I won't even say my game, the game. You're paying attention to the game or you're out. So now it doesn't mean you have to sit there with head on hands going, what's going on now? Just act like you're interested if it's not dealing with your character. There, sometimes
at the bare minimum, be preparing for your turn. Make your
that
turn.
one drives me batshit crazy.
What?
When people are more worried about what other characters doing, then you get to their turn like, well, let's see, here he did that, and then he did. So what's she doing over there? Well, okay, so what I think I'm gonna do is like, nah, your turn's done. You spent too much time.
Yeah, too much time looking around. You actually forfeited all of your actions. Good job. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at the bare minimum, if you don't care what other people are doing, just make sure when your turn comes around, you're not fumbling around looking for dumb shit. Act like you're interested. That's a good idea. I mean, it'll make the other players like you more.
Did you see the rest of it?
Oh, I have to do that every time I'm here, and Max is wow.
And we have him on the hey, go follow this person list.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Oh, are you gonna block him?
That's it.
Baldahar's not here to get the 5-minute ban. Now it's Spectrofire.
Spectrofire gets the bans.
I mean, he did put Winky Face after it, doesn't that?
He did put Winky. Ban Spec. There you go. Ban Spec.
That's our new hashtag. Forget RPGate.
Boom. Ban Spec. There it is.
There we go.
Banned.
Hold on. I gotta see. Is it still here? It still shows up here. That's good to know. All right. Let's move on.
Let's go on. Scale of the game. We did that. Okay. Scales of play. Rules are important so that they help maintain a game's balance. A good rule set keeps the castle keeper from taking too much control of the game, and they establish that median that produces a game fair to all. I think that sentence is a little clumsy, but I get it. Deviating from the rule set can be both challenging and fun, but attention must be given to maintaining certain levels of consistency in the play. Okay, this is basically what this is trying to tell you. Like, there are rules for a reason. The rules should not get in the way of the game, but you screw with the rules too much, the whole game will fall apart because, up is down, garbage is money. You don't want that. All right. So, don't let the rules get in the way, but if you break the rules too much, then the whole game will just collapse into anarchy.
Even the smallest rule, when you change it, will eventually at some point have unless you're doing a one-shot, will have an impact. Yeah, like in my games, it has to do with how you roll attributes, and I remove every aspect of true seeing in the game. It does not exist. I despise true seeing in all of its forms, so I don't allow that in my game. But that means I have to pay attention to some things that are going on in the game that would be, where that would be necessary.
Yeah, so, especially with modules, because some modules require certain spell or skill set, and if you eliminate that, you can make it all but impossible to complete.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Now, if I were to put something like true seeing in there, it would be like a charged item. Yeah. One-shot item, a charged item, or something that's focused. Like it's sitting on the altar. You can't move it. It's faced in that direction. But it's, if you ever look up the module Child's Play, that one was ruined for me by somebody who had true seeing.
All right. Working with players. While developing and planning a game of Castles and Crusades is primarily the responsibility of the castle keeper, it is important to note that the game should not take shape in a vacuum. Though a ready-made audience may exist, the castle keeper should keep in mind that the audience, the players, are an interactive part of the game. Before the adventure begins, the players should create their characters, and the castle keeper should have an idea of the classes and races the characters intend to play, and ascertain the general nature of the player's desires for their characters. Again, this is game zero stuff. All right.
Right.
Every single character, if they are not fashioned by the castle keeper, will be made in front of the castle keeper. This isn't to stop people from cheating. That's not it. It's if everyone sees the build process and can hear your thoughts and thinking about your character as it's happening, everyone's going to know where everyone stands.
Shads, you're wrong. There is an audience. Everybody at the table is the audience.
Yes, everybody at the table is an audience member because everyone is watching. Well, except for Game Boy people, everyone is watching what's going on.
Hold on, let me put that on the screen so people can see what we're talking about. Everyone at the table is an audience at some point or another, including the game master.
All right, so there's that. And Life of Adventure.
I had a comment on that, but he sidetracked me.
What was your comment?
I don't remember. He sidetracked me. I don't remember what it was. So we'll just move on. If I remember it, we'll... Good job, Shadzar.
Oh, here we go. Castle and its Keep. This is going to be page 160. Designing a game session or series of sessions interlocked by plot or theme can be a demanding task, but a very fulfilling one as well. To do so requires a plot or environment in which the players find great interest. They must overcome challenges, be they monsters or traps, conquering evil demons, pillaging dungeons, or rescuing the damsel in distress. There is no limit to the plots and storylines a castle keeper might develop in order to entertain the players. Imagination is the only limit to your creations. Okay, so that's basically what they're saying. Like you can do, the rules heavy, dice only, hack and slash type thing, or you can do massive story play, but most likely you're going to want to chart your course in the middle somewhere. And that's where people can be satisfied by rolling big numbers and killing lots of stuff, but also be satisfied that they feel like they are invested in their character, because when their character does well, they do well, and not just in combat, but in, gaining followers or prestige in the world or, stuff like that. Walking into a village and someone asks you your name and you tell them and they say, "Oh my God, you're this guy. Holy crap, I'm so
Earthdawn had a really good system for that with the reputation system.
Yeah, and like, oh, I'm so happy to meet you. I've heard so much about you." That makes a player feel good. Like, my character has status, has power. Not
it
just
also
in
means
combat.
you're recognizable.
Yeah, not just in combat, but the general populace looks up to me because of the things I've done and the decisions I've made. That's great. All right.
So I remember what I wanted to say now, and it can piggyback on this as well. So about you're talking about building the characters together and so forth. I'm a firm believer. I didn't used to be. When I was younger, I didn't, but I'm a firm believer in that now, mostly because I've seen parties go awry. And that's where I really like the Year Zero engine games. You build a relationship with each of the characters at the table. It's built into the game. It's experience point driven and so forth. So if, for example, I build a relationship with Heathen Dog that says I will protect him at all costs, as long as I'm playing that, that's what happens. If I fail to do it, well, then, things happen. But anyway, the point being is it helps you determine. It's just like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game from Palladium when it was Palladium. Now it's After the Bomb. If you made a team, you got more points and you got more skills and so forth. But you had to make your characters together so that you had to know which one was going to be twirling the stick, when was going to be poking the little rakes, and which one's going to be clubbing people on the head with chains.
And Krantz has a question. What percentage of players do you think just want hack and slash play? In my experience, that's a little less than a third. A third prefer hack and slash play. Not very often, I find a player that only does hack and slash play. That's very
I find
rare.
New players that are like that because either A, they come from video games, or in the old days, just weren't comfortable doing it. And if your group is good about helping the person get into character and play a character and so forth, I'm going to highlight this little message from Shadzar. I think it's time to take a break because I want to address this.
Okay.
Which one was it? Why didn't I see it here? Oh, there it is. Boom, right here. Isn't quite hack and slash play versus role play, as role play is different, better than role play, but neither is about thespianism. I disagree 100%. You don't have to be a trained voice actor. You don't have to be a trained actor. None of us are. You don't have to do funny voices. You don't have to wear costumes. But you do have to play a character. That means thinking outside of who you are here in year 2021, 2020, whatever fucking year we're in. I went into the future. I'm trying to get out of 2020, man. But and thinking about how your character would act in that environment. And I'm talking a character. I'm not talking number system. And here's what I mean by that. Number one, no true character, unless fucking mad, would go into a bar, go to the biggest, baddest person in the bar, sitting around his friends at the long table, who, you know, just got the dragon meat ready to give to the bartender, the innkeeper to cook it up, and go, I kill him. He's at my table. No, you're dead. Think of it in the real world. Do you walk into a bar and pull out a gun on somebody? So you're not playing a character at that point. You're playing numbers. Well, I rolled all 18s, so I got this. No, you're playing a character sheet. The other one is characters who don't grow. The paladin who has to chop off the wrists of the thief. Well, in my religion, that's what we do. Well, no, a paladin is supposed to teach. A paladin is supposed to be humble. Yes, you are the right hand of justice for your god, but your first go-to isn't supposed to be slicing off wrists and killing people. It's supposed to be educating and bringing people into the fold. No, that is role-playing.
Better yet, usually a paladin will be cutting off the wrists of thieves who are not of his religion. How are you going to convert people to your religion if no one has their right hand? I mean, come on. You know, they haven't decided to follow the tenets of your faith. Therefore, they should not be receiving the gravest punishments for breaking tenets that they may not even know about. So
depending on if the world's a theocracy or not, I absolutely agree with that. Yep. Yeah. And in most fantasy settings, they're not going to be crazy theocracies. But the point that I'm making is you should be playing a character. You should be thinking how your character should do. And that includes maybe not full-on acting, but it absolutely includes, okay, what would my character do in this case? Just use Heathen Dog. Hey, Heathen Dog, I'm out of potions right now. I'll pay you later, but I don't have anything right now. If I pay you later, if I do something, can you get me a healing potion so I can make it through this? Instead of just like, hey, I asked Heathen Dog for a healing potion.
Yeah.
That's the difference for me. For a new player who says, hey, I asked Heathen Dog for a healing potion, as a game master, or in this case, Castle Keeper, I would say, hey, say it as your character would. Just ask him. Let's get used to this. I don't put pressure on anybody. I just try to get into it. Try to envision yourself as the character. Now, I don't stop people from doing accents or wearing goofy costumes. I don't really prefer it because a lot of times you can't control the game because they get crazy or forget, or there have been exceptions. We all know Garthon is an exception, but you get the point. So I just want to delineate that line that it doesn't have to be acting and thespianism in terms of professional quality, but it do have to take the role of the character and be that character's mind.
Yep. All right, let's see here. When planning an encounter, the castle keeper should not take into account powers they know the party has unless the planned encounter would know that. A mountain pass guarded by ogres would not realistically know that the druid has changed rock to mud in his catalog of spells. Yet, knowing the character's abilities and interests, Castle Keeper should create events or monsters which challenge the character's use thereof. Okay, I get it.
Where are you? Because I remember reading that paragraph and I liked it.
160, right side, second paragraph. I finished it though.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and these are the kinds of encounters that you can have in your game. Random. Rolling random encounters alleviates much of the preparatory work involved in planning encounters and gives a hint of complete surprise to the players. When traveling through the marsh, the players know that anything could happen and they cannot always prepare for what awaits them. Fedor Sixtoes may be leading his band on a wild chase across the broken steppes of the northern wilds, hunting the Orc Reaper, Orange Hair.
Rawr.
Well, no, that's an orc name. All right. The Topsy-Turvy Ride.
Look, this book was written in like 2007 or something. There's nothing wrong with that.
The Topsy-Turvy Ride filled with tracking and quick reactions could be completely reversed when they run into a golem standing silently in the steppes. Care should be taken to make certain these encounters do not interrupt the pace of the game and that they fit one is trying to do. During the same wild chase across the broken steppes, the fun excitement of the sleepless hunt could be brought to a sudden standstill if the party runs into a rust monster. Why is a rust monster there? Doesn't have to be that random. Rust monsters are underground, not swamp.
Maybe in this world they're above ground now. I don't know.
No, it's dumb. All right,
That's why no city is made out of iron.
There you go. Spur of the moment. Encounters which happen at a moment's notice are the most challenging of all. They are best used when the players are beginning to lose interest in the evening's play or just bored with too much role playing. That's what I said earlier. It's exactly what I said earlier. I'm a genius.
Look, some people can take the role play too far.
Yes.
Like it's been 45 minutes. Come on.
Exactly. And the other players, you'll see it in their eyes like, oh my God, he's at it again. Like, oh shit. Okay, well, everyone get some snacks. So then you throw some action in there to break it up. And then you use the result of that action to finish what you were doing before, stops the role play, and you move on. But you're not forcing the role player to stop. You're not telling him, dude, just shut up. Just shut up.
At some point, you've got to just get the role in there and let's move on. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Maybe you do want to practice your acting chops. Make sure you find, maybe you want to LARP. Maybe your actual game that you want to play is Vampire the Masquerade, but you couldn't find one.
That's exactly right. You find a LARP group. If you're that thick into character and you're all method and shit, then you are a LARPer. Go to your hole. It's your home. Don't be in my hole. All right. Combat. Next page. A battle with a group of orcs or a great fire-breathing dragon presents the players with an exciting moment of death as death lingers thirstily with the roll of each and every die.
See, now that's how you describe something.
Yes. The grist of most games is its combats. Combats naturally lend to themselves drama and excitement. There's nothing like the threat of a character death to grab the attention of a player and invest them in the game. With proper descriptive text and paying attention to pace, the combat encounter can be one of the most enjoyable and memorable of all encounters. The threat of death does much to keep the people engaged, yes, because you're going to lose all your shit and all the stuff you worked for is going to mean nothing. Blows that destroy equipment or softly scar characters are good ways to keep players engaged and fearful. A character who pokes his head through the door to have his nose broken, teeth shattered, and the globe of his eye busted is unlike a look through another door carelessly again. That's why you carry mirrors. Sharp, clear, descriptive text keeps the scene alive and memorable. Okay, so what they're saying here is, yes, combat can work, but you add drama to combat with description. Like, you're not just facing 3 orcs. You're facing 3 orcs, one of whom has a necklace of human ears. Another one has an eye patch and is coating a dagger with poison. You know,
he'll actually go into this. Unless we already passed it. He talks about some goblins.
Oh, okay.
Like how did the difference between saying there's 3 goblins around a table and kind of like what you're doing right there.
Why is this book reading my mind?
I don't know. You may have passed it. You may have like skimmed over it. It got put into the brain
hole.
Got
put in my mind and it just unconsciously. Okay. Traps and riddles. Traps can and do add very exciting moments to the game. A well-placed trap or even suspicion of a deadly trap raises tension on the table, and as anticipation mounts, so do emotions. Riddles serve much the same purpose, though the method differs markedly. Now, with riddles, it's tough. I hate puzzles.
Same here.
I hate them. But a lot of people love a good logic puzzle or whatever in their game. They love it. You really have to know your players to put in the right riddle.
The reason I don't like puzzles is because when I get the solution, I'm usually like, no, this isn't true all the time, but I'm like, I knew that, but I overthink it because I've been screwed in the past. Hell, like, it's just like taking a Microsoft certification exam. You know, it's like, did they say and or the or but? What is it? Crap, I got it wrong because they used it. No. And I absolutely overthink the puzzles. The other thing is, and Heathen Dog may disagree with me on this one because I know he kind of disagrees with me on the charisma side of it, but I see charisma and intelligence similarly when it comes to these games. One of the reasons I roll a character that, say, has an 18 strength is because I want to be able to, punch my fist through a wall, something I can't do in real life, right? Well, one of the reasons I make a character with an 18 intelligence is so that I'm pretty much a walking encyclopedia. If I wanted math problems thrown at me all day, if I wanted to join Mensa off of playing a role-playing game, I would go study harder. I'm here to play a game. I want to roll my intelligence check. That doesn't mean don't give the players a chance to work it out. But if you're a dick GM where 3 hours later nobody's figured it out, and you're just like, oh, you guys are gonna die. No. At some point, The wizard, especially in this game with the primary stat of intelligence, should be rolling an intelligence check. And here's the answer. Your character figures it out even if you didn't.
Yes, I feel this. Shadzar has it right here. You're supposed to challenge the character, not the player.
Absolutely right.
The player isn't in that world. The character is in the world. That means the character has to solve this puzzle to move on. The characters together have to solve this puzzle to move on. So you don't have to personally know the answer. Right. You just have to put your character into a spot where your character can know the answer. Which is,
and I do something very similar with charisma tests in terms of like, first impressions and so forth as well. Maybe you're playing a bard because you like music, but you're not an extrovert. You're just not that type of person. Yes, I'm still going to ask you to role play, and I'm still going to ask you to talk as your character, but I'm not going to make you go out there with some weird soliloquy about, the mountains and the sun and the oceans, oh my, and so forth to win them over. Just tell me that you're greeting them. Say something that's at least respectful. Like, hey, gentlemen, how are you doing today? Oh, traveler, merry meet. How are we doing? Whatever. And that's going to be good enough for me. Make your charisma check. You made it. Okay, they're kind of affable towards you. Like, oh, you failed it? Well, you were nice, but you must have spit on them at the same time, and that's an insult in this culture or something. Whatever. So the point is, you're playing characters. You're not playing yourselves.
Yep. Okay, let's see. Traps, we did that. Okay, terrain. What can be more difficult than any other encounter are those centered around various types of terrain. The natural world can be harsh and unforgiving, and pitting the party against it as challenging for the castle keeper as it is dangerous for the player. The terrain must be kept interesting and the characters capable of reacting to it. Sharp, clear, and brief descriptions are enough to convey the blasted desert-like landscape.
What, I shouldn't write a full-page report on this?
No. No, you shouldn't Tolkien the shit out of this. All right, you should not. Like a whole paragraph about a fire. Shut up, dude. Just stop. It's a goddamn fire. It's hot. Move on. There's more important stuff. Allowing the player to react, explain how they get food, water, build shelter, or simply stay alive can keep them engaged. Yes, you are in a desert. It is a blasted desert. There are rocks everywhere. The sun is high in the sky. The temperature is all but unlivable. What do you do? It's like, okay, well, we got to find shelter. We got to find water. We got to figure out a way to get out of this damn heat, and then all the characters together are doing that for 5 or 10 minutes. They're doing that, figuring out how to live. And then they're going out and doing it. They're, trying to look in
one of the directions and it's really dark. It's not, it's not quite poofy enough to be clouds, but there's a haze that's off in the distance. And if somebody is from a desert land or has a survival skill, go ahead and roll that. That's definitely a sandstorm coming in.
Cover is necessary. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, keep it quick, and the characters themselves will fill in the blanks, fill in all this stuff. Like they will be,
and let them.
Yeah. Let them do it. Like I'm digging for water, and while they're digging for water, they may find an underground plant or a burrowing creature that they can get for food, or they're finding shelter on the lee of a big stone, so they're digging down into it or constructing something around it. They're doing it for you. Let them.
This is what I highlighted. There's something you don't have to do in your games in 2020.
What's that?
You don't have to say if the players begin to wax bored.
That's funny. Best to liven things up and spur of the moment encounter that allows them to extricate themselves from their environment. Yeah, I mean, if you're in the blasted desert for like 3 weeks, that shit's boring, man. You gotta move on. You gotta get out of there. You have to progress.
Now, one of the things that I'll do, let me go back to our old Earthdawn games, and I've had so many, but you guys actually didn't. But I've had other groups and other people that I talked to about this absolutely flip a gasket on this one. I'm of the mindset that, so for example, we're going to include the puzzles that we were talking about in a moment ago also. If you solve the puzzle as a group of players, not as the characters, but as a group of players, I'm going to give you experience for that because you're engaged in the game. That's the way I see it. Not because you solved the puzzle, but because you were engaged in the game and you successfully passed a test, right? Let's say you get 50 for rolling and getting through it. I'll give you 100 for actually solving it, something like that. Another one is traveling across the world. how many times did you guys in Earthdunk, because I didn't let you get on airships often,
No.
you'd have to travel like 10 days?
Yeah.
Oh, I want all my karma back. No. But I'm going to do one karma ritual every day. No, you're not. Roll a d10. That's how many days that you traveled. And that's how many days worth of karma you can get back. And the reason I did that was maybe there was a sandstorm. I don't want to describe every single day to you. Maybe you had to use fighting some monsters to survive. Maybe whatever it happened to be. You're still adventuring even though it's 10 days.
Yeah, I mean, there is a benefit and downside to fast travel, just like in video games. When you fast travel from one city to another, instead of walking it, yeah, you get to your destination much faster, but you're still just as hurt as when you left. Even though if you actually traveled that, you would naturally regenerate some hit points, but you didn't. So if you want the fast travel, then you have to take the benefits and the detriments. The detriment is that, you're not going to get to heal. You're not going to get to study. You're not going to do all that stuff because you fast traveled.
Right. At least not as much. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. With an iron thumb, rules.
Uh-oh, which page? Oh, there we go.
Whatever the style, theme, setting, or plot of the game, the Castle Keeper should be willing to adjust the game's mechanics when necessary. A well-balanced rule system is important in that it creates a median upon which all encounters and conflicts can be resolved. However, rules should not impede the flow of the game or the enjoyment of the players. I said this already. The Castle Keeper, who works to create fast-paced combat wherein the players are anxious for each round to resolve to learn their fates, can find the momentum shattered by a rule set which is, as often as not, unnecessary. The Castle Keeper must learn to adjudicate the game and to decide quickly what the ramifications of certain actions may be. For instance,
so one of the things that this is trying to say though is like you don't have to roll for everything.
No, and sometimes like the rule will get in the way of the game. Like you have a movement of randomly, I'm just gonna say 10, but to save the princess who was just pushed off of the ledge, well, she's 12 away. You
can't make it. You're too short.
Yep. By the rules, you cannot save her. Bitch is dead. She's splat. She's chunky salsa. But that's lame. That is freaking lame. So as a keeper, I'd say, okay, well, if you sacrifice 2 hit points, you can get that burst of speed you need. You'll
make a dex roll,
or make a dex roll or something.
There are various things you can do.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things you can do to say that you got that extra 2 at that moment.
And let the players come up with some of this. Like, okay, yeah, I know it says 10, but if I exert, let's use the 2 hit point thing that Heathen Dog said, but if I exert myself, look, I'll take damage. Okay, fair enough. Let the players come up with stuff like that. And if it seems plausible, let me put it another way. Unless your game is very gritty, realistic, and so forth, and I don't have any issues with those games, but if you're playing a game like I tend to like, which is a little bit more cinematic, maybe low magic and gritty, but still cinematic, let somebody do that and let the player do something cinematic oriented, heroic. Yeah.
It depending on the type of player, it can do many things. Being cinematic and heroic makes a player feel good about his character. Like, I did this. This was amazing. I am amazing. Okay. Or if it's a cynical player, and he says, "Hey, I know the rules say I can only go 10, but I need to go 12. What if I push through, got an adrenaline moment, and then I paid for it by doing this?" That player's going to think, "Oh, I convinced the game master or keeper to let me break the rules. This was awesome." Even though you wanted them to.
Now, I have a rule, unwritten rule in my games where if you do something that I think is going to be a crutch, like this is an awesome idea, you wanting to have that adrenaline burst and take a couple of points of damage, I'm for that. Let's do that. Go ahead. You saved her. Make your strength check because maybe she was falling or something. Whatever, right? But I'm going to tell you, this is a one-time deal. You don't get to do this again. My favorite one in Old Dungeons & Dragons is all the various weird ways that people try to use magic missile. Like, you know what? That's thinking. Absolutely good idea there, but you're only going to get this one time. So see 2nd edition fire building non-weapon proficiency. I don't have it memorized, but I seem to remember that the fire building non-weapon proficiency really just allowed you to make a fire in inclement weather.
Yes. It allows you to build a fire where it would be difficult to have fire, like a swamp.
Everybody can make a fire. Everybody can make a fire. Well, maybe not a wizard who's, with his allergies never went out into the woods or something. But a farmer can make a fire, certainly a hunter and a logger can make a fire. They can make fires. But that's about, can you make a fire knowing not to set it underneath a tree that's snow's gonna drop on and put it out and so forth.
That book pissed me off, by the way.
What book?
To Build a Fire. That's what happened.
Oh,
you remember that book?
How that's forever ago. No.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right.
Where are we now?
Servant, not your master. That's what we're just saying. I mean, if it gets in the way of the story, bending and breaking the rules is a good idea, but you do it too much or you let the players abuse this, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass. It's going to happen. All right. So
I describe rules in the RPG that I'm writing.
Jack London. Yes.
I describe the rules of my game. For you, it's game mechanics. You see it as I take a D6 falling damage, for example, right? Mm-hmm. The character sees that as universal constants. It's not a smart idea to start changing universal constants.
Right.
That's
what he means by universal constants is that you're the people in the game, whereas you see dice rolls and rule sets, they see, up is up and down is down.
Right.
Everything falls at a certain rate, and gets hurt depending on how high you fall. If you start changing stuff like that, you're actually changing the way gravity works. You're changing up and down, the color of the sky. This shit gets real quick. So yes. Easy on that. Easy.
Yep, good clarification.
Yes. Okay. Attributes in the game. This one's 163. Throughout the game, the castle keeper and players must resolve whether or not specific actions succeed or fail. These actions might include tracking a band of goblins, detecting a trap, swimming muddy river, blah, blah, blah. To resolve situations, castle keeper informs the player to make a specific attribute check.
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second here.
What's that?
Let's go through this one pretty in depth in terms of reading the paragraphs, because this is actually, number one, this is where we're getting in the system. And okay. Number two, there's some good clarification, maybe not right here, but there's some good clarification about primary stat versus secondary stat that I like. I like how it's implemented.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. The player rolls a d20 and adds the character's level. There it is. Okay.
Not always, but yes.
Not always, but here it says it's pretty definitive.
It'll be defined better later.
Okay. And adds the character's level and the attribute modifier of the attribute designated by. And again, awkward, but I get it. If the total score equals or exceeds the challenge class, that number representing the difficulty of conflict requiring the check, see below. Okay, we're going to explain that. Character succeeds. If it does not equal or exceed it, so it's a threshold. Equal or higher. Okay.
Yes.
This simple attribute check mechanic for resolving conflicts underlies the whole game and is called the Siege Engine. The name Siege Engine, trademark, reflects the attribute check because all conflicts in Castle Crusades involve an attacker and a defender, just as if an army were laying siege to a castle wall.
Here's a little bit of a TM versus R. You can put TM behind whatever you want. That doesn't make it trademarked.
Okay.
So, R means it's registered.
Right.
Probably when they wrote this, they were either trying to get it registered or they're just doing it just for some... You get a little bit of legal on it, but like for example, our Legion Myth logo actually has an R. I paid for it. I put it in, took the however many months it took for them to approve it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But so you use TM before you use R. Anybody who says TM, I wouldn't take it. I mean, I Siege Engine means this to me, but just for the people out there, TM and R are different, and you're not legally allowed to use the R unless you actually have a registered trademark.
Right. Got it. Okay, I don't know how that was necessary for what we're talking about.
I don't understand why they put TM in the book. That's what I was actually thinking.
Mirrors the game's story-based theme of characters seeking to overcome the challenges before them. Determine if a check is necessary. This is important. It is important, to note that only those activities which have a significant chance of failure, as determined by the castle keeper, should be resolved by die roll. This is beautiful. I love it.
I disagree with this.
Hang on. Not a lot of games actually come out and say this. They apparently think that you're just supposed to magically know. I mean, we had this conversation with another game. If you're a pilot, you have the pilot skill, and you are flying a perfectly good plane on a perfectly sunny day, and you're going to land on a runway, you do not need to roll. You've trained literally for this forever. You just do it. Now, if you're down an engine, you got a fire, there's a tornado, and there's people shooting you from the ground, and you got to land.
You're
now
under duress.
It's time to roll.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
exactly.
I changed the word significant chance of failure that to meaningful.
Meaningful.
Yes. I'll have a character roll, even if you're gonna pass this, but just on the off chance you really do roll low, I've got something in mind that's gonna happen here. We're not talking tying shoes.
Yeah, you're exactly right. If failure has consequences pertinent to the game, then roll.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. If success or failure doesn't matter, then don't roll it. It doesn't
either
matter.
Say yes or say no.
Yeah. Either works or it doesn't. Judicious use of the attribute check is essential to maintain the fast flow of actions and adventure. Yes, if you start making checks for everything, it's going to slow down the game to a crawl.
Or you start getting the players like, can I make a check too? Can I make a check? Can I?
No, shut your hole. There are instances in which the attribute check is required. These include all class ability checks and saving throws, and those other instances where the Castle Keeper deems a check necessary to resolve conflict. Determine the attribute needed. Once it is decided an attribute check is needed, the Castle Keeper must identify the attribute to be checked against. In most cases, the answer is obvious. In the case of class abilities and saving throws, the appropriate attribute has already been identified. With class abilities, the associated attribute is in the ability's description. For example, when Melf, the rogue, picks a pocket, a dexterity attribute check must be made to determine success. Saving throws, which are discussed below, list their associated attribute. Non-specified situations running a check are typically easy to resolve. The attribute description located in the beginning of the book should aid in deciding which attribute to associate with specific actions. For example, Bjorn attempts to push a statue over the kobold war chief Crumblet. The statue is exceedingly heavy, even for the great Bjorn. The Castle Keeper must require an attribute check against Bjorn's strength.
Might require. To answer Mar Hockman here, this is one of the things I ran into when I was developing my game, which is why my game system is much different now, because I was running into this, and I don't like this as well. You won't run into that in this game necessarily. I mean, you can technically, because this game uses a sliding scale that keeps going up, based as we saw already, based on level, modifiers, and so forth. Remember, everything in this game starts at a 12 or an 18.
Yep.
So
12 or higher or 18 and higher.
Then it's modified by the
situations,
attributes.
levels, attributes, whatever. Yeah. Determine the challenge class. Speaking of, here it is, challenge class. Once the associated attribute is chosen, the Castle Keeper must calculate the character's chance of success. Chance of success is determined by a number called the challenge class, CC. Challenge class mirrors armor class in that to succeed, the attribute check result must be greater than or equal to the challenge class. Challenge base. The first step in calculating challenge class is to determine the challenge base. The challenge base is always either a 12 or an 18. Challenge base is dependent on whether or not the attribute being checked against is a character's prime attribute or secondary attribute.
And remember, humans get 3 primes, demi-humans get 2.
Yes, humans have a great advantage in this game.
I'm going to spoil something real quickly here, or tease something. When it goes into multi-classing later on, that gets, I'm not allowing multi-classing. Go on.
That gets weird?
Yeah.
Okay. If the attribute is prime, the challenge base is 12. If the attribute is secondary, the challenge base is 18. Returning to our example, Bjorn the Fighter has a strength prime attribute. Duh. Thus, the challenge base for his action would be a 12. If Bjorn were a wizard and the strength was a secondary attribute, his challenge base would be 18. Challenge level. The second step in calculating challenge class is determining the conflict's challenge level, CL. The Castle Keeper has vast discretion in determining challenge level. Although the task sounds difficult, it's actually fairly easy. Challenge level is nothing more than the level of difficulty of the action attempted on the reaction made. The simplest way to determine challenge level is by referencing the level or hit die of the non-player character or monster to which the character is making the check is acting against or reacting to. In such cases, challenge level, it's the other person's level. You get to add your level.
Or hit die,
Or hit die, and then if you're doing it against someone else, you add level to its hit die or level to your target number.
All of these make sense, but I like this last sentence here. If a rogue attempts to deactivate a trap set by a 4th level rogue, the challenge level would be 4.
Yes.
Because even though that rogue probably isn't there, might even be long dead.
Still his skill is in being 4th level is reflected in the quality and craftiness and placement of the trap. So it would still be +4. So in that instance, if you are disarming a trap set by a 4th level rogue, and you're a rogue, you're rolling dex, and it's your prime attribute.
It better
so it's gonna be a 12. Yeah, better be. It's going to be a 12, but it adds 4. So now it jumps up to 16.
But then you add your level.
But then you add your level to your roll to try and equal to or better that 16, plus any dex attribute, modifications you may have.
And they'll have a couple examples coming.
Yes. Okay, let's go below that then. There are more arbitrary situations that require the Castle Keeper to create an adequate challenge level. If a character is attempting a task such as making an extraordinary jump or swinging a rope to grab an object, the Castle Keeper needs to assign a difficulty to the task. A good way to assign such a challenge level is to think of the task's difficulty as if it were a monster, and then assign a challenge level equal to the hit dice of the monster imagined. In this way, a level or hit die can be assigned tasks such as swimming a river, knocking down a door, jumping a pit, or catching a falling object. For example, a character might wish to jump over a 6-foot wide pit. Assuming the character is unarmored and has room to run and jump, this is a fairly easy task that is perhaps equivalent to a degree of difficulty involved in a 1st level fighter combating a one-hit die monster. Thus, the Castle Keeper assigns challenge level 1. However, if the character is heavily weighted down, leaping across space could be deemed a 2 or higher.
Now, to be fair, I felt that was a little clunky, but as far as rules, I think that this should have been, I know this is directly an example that I highlighted right here, but I really felt that this was, it says for example, first of all, but I felt that this should have been in a shaded box as well, because I liked the example here, but it sounded clunky being a rule.
Yeah, understood. Okay, as a rule of thumb, a challenge level from 1 to 5 is adequate for easy task. For difficult task, challenge level 6 to 10, and for very difficult tasks, 11 to 15. And heroic actions require level 15 to 20. That is bananas. I can't even.
What's a max level? Well, I guess max level in the game's 20. Well,
yeah,
maybe even higher. But yeah, you're not a hero until you're level 15, buddy.
Yep, but you're not doing heroic shit.
Not easily, anyway. Yeah.
People, I guess. When in doubt, err on the low side, since it never hurts a game to have a character succeed in something difficult. That is a good rule of thumb.
Yes.
If you're not sure, go the lowest that you feel comfortable in doing it, because there is no stigma on success. So the players aren't going to get pissed off they won.
And it shouldn't ruin your game, don't you?
No.
I'm not saying that you want them to succeed. You should kind of want them to succeed, but you don't want to be a jerk to them, like, ha ha. I only plan for your failure.
There it is. After the challenge base and challenge level are determined, the Castle Keeper adds them together. The sum is the challenge class for the attribute check. The score is a number in which the player must beat on the check. That seems fair. Let us turn again to the example of Bjorn. He is a 5th level fighter with strength as a prime attribute. His challenge base is to topple the statue would be 12. That's because his using strength and his prime attribute, that's 12. Pushing over the statue is simple to difficult task, so a challenge level 4 is assigned to the action. Okay, it's still in the simple range, but they already said earlier it was very heavy. So the higher end of the simple task range. Adding 12 to 4 equals 16. That's the target number 16. Therefore, the player must roll a modified 16 or better to push the statue over onto the kobold. The player makes the attribute check by rolling a d20 and adding Bjorn's level and strength modifiers. For example, let's assume player rolls an 11. Bjorn's level is 5 and strength modifier gives him +2. So added to the 11 for a total of 18. This beats the 16 challenge class. So the statue creaks and sways for a moment, then falls on the kobold war chief, squishing it. Super dead.
Poor kobold.
Poor kobold war chief.
Poor little guy.
In short, the process of the attribute check involves the player rolling a d20 and adding the character level and the appropriate attribute modifier. The total number must equal or greater than the challenge class as determined by the Castle Keeper. Yes. This is all great. Challenge level less than 0. What? As previously noted, every activity does not require an attribute check. However, circumstances do arise where the Castle Keeper may want the character to make an attribute check, but have a greater chance to succeed. In other words, they may want a CL of 0 or less. This is the best resolved by setting the CL at 0 and informing the player that they get an extra bonus, the amount being dictated by the Castle Keeper. The Castle Keeper informs them at the time of the bonus. The bonus stacks with their role, level, and attribute bonus. Alternatively, the challenge keeper may assign a negative challenge. That's what I would do. I would assign a negative challenge level. That's just easier. Stark is a first level ranger with a 15 dexterity. All rangers have the scale class ability that allows them to climb any climbable surface without a dexterity check. Difficult surfaces require a dex check. Stark finds himself in a well there, and there are what?
Stark finds himself in a well. There are handholds between
in a
the
well.
bricks.
Okay, I thought it meant like well instead of well. Okay.
See, you're role playing.
Yeah, there are handholds between the bricks. However, the bricks are covered in slime. The castle keeper does not want Stark to have an automatic climb chance. However, he wants him to have a much greater chance of getting out of the well. Challenge base is 12 because Stark's dexterity is prime. The castle keeper sets challenge level at -4. So it's CB 12 plus CL's -4 equals 8. Stark rolls a 20. He rolls a 6 and adds his level bonus +1 and his dexterity bonus +1 to come up with an 8. He climbs out of the well.
So Shadzar, this is based on the OGL, which was 3rd edition. So
okay. Challenge keeper could alternately set the CL 0 and give Stark a bonus of +4. Yeah. Okay. All right. You want to do the using attribute checks because you said this was important.
Yep. So we'll do this until I start coughing. Because every time I take a deep breath, I cough. So let's see how this goes.
I'm going to take a drink too.
One of the challenges of running a game is deciding when and how to use the rules of the game to enhance the gameplay experience. Knowing when and how to use the attribute check to the best advantage will make for a fun and exciting game. Misusing them will cause the game to become bogged down with trivialities. As we talked about before, you don't have to roll to land a plane on a nice sunny day if you're a pilot.
Right.
Saving throws and class ability checks are two uses of attribute checks that are self-explanatory. As noted above, the most difficult are those other circumstances requiring a general attribute check to be made, which, with a little experience, you got that. Additionally, the concept of primary attribute and secondary attribute plays a role as well. Just because a character has a high score on an attribute does not mean the character has the ability to use it best. A fighter with a 15 strength, which is a prime attribute, knows better how to utilize his body's strength, whether through leverage, athletic ability, or training, than does a wizard with a 15 strength that is a secondary attribute.
Makes sense.
Go to a little bit deeper now. A character with a prime attribute of intelligence is grounded in the real and concrete, and is quite able at the art of deduction. Okay, sure.
That's right.
They better separate illusion from reality. This is true even if the character has only an intelligence score of 11. There may be characters with higher intelligence scores, but as a secondary attribute. Those characters may be quick-witted or smarter, but they do not have the natural aptitude for methodological reasoning.
No. I would say they don't have the deductive training. I would say it like that. Like they don't have a fundamental inborn lack of trait. They just, because they can be a wizard too someday, right? So
could be a fighter.
Yeah, could be whatever, but they just lack the training in deductive reasoning and logical train of thought that a wizard would be trained with. So that's why it'd be the 12 and 18. I get it.
If you say it for wizard, I agree with you. But if you use it for other classes, if you want to go in different directions, I get what they're trying to say. I think they're just trying to be generic here. Say, look, you can be a dexterous rogue. You can also be a dexterous fighter. But if the fighter doesn't take the dexterity as a primary stat, the rogue's looking like he's doing the limbo, where the fighter is just not where swings are coming in. Mm-hmm. Climbing. Actually, they'll talk about climbing in a little bit, so I'll just move on here. Thus, the less intelligent character with an intelligence as a prime attribute may be slower in reasoning, but ultimately the character has a better chance of success deducing a situation. Such should be kept in mind in reading the following discussion examples of attribute checks as they relate to each of the 6 attributes. Do we want to go through each attribute individually?
Go through strength, wisdom, and charisma.
Strength, wisdom, and charisma. Okay. The strength check should be used sparingly and with a healthy dose of common sense. Well, there's your wisdom. A boulder weighing over a ton cannot be lifted, even by a character with a strength score of 18.
Fair.
A rock for a sling stone can be lifted by anyone. This extreme example, for Shadzar, illustrates the potential downside of relying on attribute checks to resolve situations in a game. If done too often, the act of making a check can begin to replace the essential value of common sense when determining the outcomes of events.
Yeah,
strength.
Actually, no. This is a thing like, well, if I roll a 20, I'll succeed in anything. No, man. Sorry.
Strength checks are most useful when a character is attempting a feat of strength beyond the norm. This often involves a situation where a character is matched against another creature or character, or against a force of nature. Or it might involve a character attempting a physical maneuver of an object that involves more than just lifting. All right, let's use it.
Bjorn pushing the statue over on the chief.
Yes.
Yeah, you maybe normally he wouldn't have to make a strength check to just tip it over, but to guide it right on top of the orc chief, you have to push and pull. You have to jimmy it a little bit to make sure it hits him. That's why you need a strength check.
Or it gets stuck against the wall. Now it's wedged and you can't move it at all.
It's wedged and they're like, what the hell? What the hell are you doing? Like, oh crap.
All right, let's do our first example here with Logmar the Black. A 6th level fighter is attempting to lift a fallen ship's mast off his boon comrade while trying to avoid being swept overboard by a raging sea. The castle keeper rules that Logmar, with a 16 strength, so a +2 modifier, would be able to lift the mast, but an attribute check is needed to determine if Logmar can succeed under the stress of the situation. So far, so good. Mm-hmm. Logmar's player rolls a 20 and scores a 12. His level and strength modifier added, giving a total of 20. The challenge base of the check is 12 because Logmar has strength as a prime attribute. The castle keeper has determined that the slipperiness of the deck and mast would equate to a challenge level 8. Wow. This calculates to a total challenge class of 20. Because the attribute check equals the challenge class, Logmar succeeds in lifting the mast. If Logmar's strength was 7, the castle keeper might decide that lifting the mast was impossible and not even allow an attribute check. That's what I like about that. Somebody can say, well, it's still technically possible for me to roll that 20. You know what? Come on. You look like Mortimer Snurd. You are not lifting anything.
Right.
Example 2. 2 characters need to swim a raging river. The first character is a halfling barbarian. What? No. From the desert who has never encountered a large body of water or a raging river. The second character is a human ranger who is raised on the banks of a large river. The halfling cannot swim, but the ranger can. Swimming a river is most closely associated with strength. In this case, the castle keeper might decide that the halfling cannot swim the river, or can attempt to swim the river, but a very difficult to heroic challenge level. Conversely, the castle keeper might determine that the ranger can automatically swim the river, or can attempt to swim the river at only a difficult challenge level. Thus, a character's background, or even class or experience from past adventures, can play a role in determining success or failure. I like that distinction.
That. Yeah, I love that. I mean, this makes your background story important.
Mm-hmm. Story.
Yeah, exactly. Where you came from, you spend time thinking about it, like a dwarf, I grew up underneath a mountain. My father was a miner. His father was a miner. I was supposed to be a miner, but I decided to be an adventurer instead. But you still know something about mining.
You heard the conversations as a kid, drinking as they're talking over the ale. Yep.
Yes.
Those who can't do teach. So you might not be able to do, but you can teach.
Yeah, you may not be a miner. Right? You are not a miner, but you've been surrounded by miners your entire life. You cannot do that and not pick up something. So you're going to be able to mine in a very, very limited way. You're going to be able to look at a tool and see if it's going to break. You're going to be able to know that, sometimes there are dangerous gases in mines that have to be aired out, or else you're going to die. You know this. You may not know exactly how to do it. So send in Heathen Dog
as the canary.
Yeah, you're gonna understand these things. Maybe not how to do them, but that they exist, and that gives you a one-up on someone who doesn't have that background.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about wisdom per Heathen Dog's suggestion.
Yep.
Where a character and not a player has had an experience that could impact a present circumstance, a wisdom attribute check is often involved. Wisdom checks often help resolve unclear circumstances through hunches or gut feeling. Wisdom is also used to determine surprise, or when allowed to spot something not normal about a situation. And they've got a good example later.
Okay, good.
Wisdom checks are a particularly useful device with new players that may be confused in such circumstance. In the end, the ultimate determination of whether to allow wisdom check or not lies in those circumstances where the fictional character's knowledge and experience would exceed the player's personal knowledge. And I'm so glad that we already talked about that, but that is just such a good sentence there in terms of saying, hey, you are separated. Your character is supposed to be able to do something better than you. That's why we're playing these games.
Yeah, you have not trained 5 years at the Buddhist temple or monk thing to be able to see and hear these things. Your character is, so your character knows things that you don't.
Right.
That's it.
Except for Ravenslayer apparently disagrees. The character's background and experiences play an important role in this. However, wisdom checks should not always be used to help characters find hidden objects or gain intuitive insight. Stop for just a moment here. One of the things I absolutely despise about playing pretty much every 5th edition game I've been in, and including some 3rd edition games that I remember, is like, okay, I walk in the room, I'm making a search, an investigation, and perception check. What do I see? Where are you looking? No, I'm making, so I got a 20, I got a 15, no. That's stupid. That's just rolling dice. That's not playing a game. How about actually enter the room, say you're looking under tapestries, that'll take some time, yeah, so forth. Anyway, a player should pay attention to the castle keeper's narrative description, and the castle keeper should allow alert players to spot potential threats or find hidden items, especially if deftly role-played. Oh, look at that. Wisdom checks are not a replacement for alert and cautious play, nor incautious play. That, oh God, I was like, when I read that, I read it again. I was like, exactly. Well, I should have known. Just because I was running through, I think I would have seen. No, you were running. Well, what does Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers do? Your movement is like, what, 1/10 or half or whatever? It's like, your movement is a lot less. If you're just going to run through stuff, yeah, you're going to trip every trap.
Yeah, and you're going to be surprised by every encounter.
Yep.
That's the way it is. So I do like that sentence as well. I mean, if the player is playing his character very cautiously, very, very meticulously, you don't roll wisdom because he will just succeed. But on the other side, if a player is running their character just caution the wind, just walk through everything, they don't get a wisdom check either because they're not paying attention. So there would be no check. So it's both sides. I like that.
I very rarely, well, first of all, I don't screw over players. Excuse me. My talk button or cough button is way over there. Sorry. I very rarely let the players leave an area. Well, I don't think I ever let the players leave an area where if there's something quest oriented that they're like, I know they need this. So in that case, I would probably do something like a wisdom check using this game. I have a different methodology, but if I'm playing this game, do a wisdom check to say, you know, something just doesn't feel right. You feel like if you leave this room that you just haven't explored anything yet. Maybe the warrior could look somewhere else, or maybe you didn't look through that underwear drawer well enough or something. So you can say, hey, flip over the bed over there. What are you doing? Rogue, start tapping the wall, you know, just something. Now, you don't tell them what to do. You don't tell them where it is, but you can do something in that regard. Flip side, if the characters walk straight up to your secret lair, move the tapestry aside, tap, 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 find the secret door. Don't say, you got to roll. No, they found it.
Yeah. You don't need to roll. They were alert and they were methodical and they bypassed the roll because they just did all the right things. That's going to happen sometimes. Okay. There's no way. See, the reason you don't want them to roll in that situation is because there's always a possibility of failure. And in that instance, failure would be stupid.
Right.
So you make sure the roll never happens. That way they can't fail.
Right.
And the other side of the thing, if the character is not paying attention at all, has blinders on, not looking around at all, just blindly going forward, you don't want them to roll because they might accidentally succeed. And you don't want that. At
least not for experienced players. For new players, I'll help them out. But yeah, I get what you're saying though. Also, as detailed ahead, surprise is a special type of wisdom check with its own rules. All right, so example 1. Well, the dwarf has a natural racial ability to detect unsafe walls. A human wizard does not.
Sure.
Suppose, however, that a wizard once had I can't read. Suppose, however, that a wizard once had the unfortunate experience of falling victim to a wall trap in a dungeon. The wizard has now, unknown to him, chanced across a similar wall trap. The wizard player does not immediately deduce the situation. The castle keeper, however, decides that the wizard character would have a chance to do so. The castle keeper allows the wizard player to make a wisdom check. If successful, the castle keeper specifically describes the situation in detail to the player or simply states that something about the passageway ahead reminds the wizard of a trap encountered years earlier. I struggle with this one a little bit because, especially with experienced players, I kind of want them to understand their character well enough to have that clue available. Like, at least maybe ask the question, is this like the wall trap I fell into 6 months ago? Yeah, it seems that way, So I don't know if I like the wisdom check here necessarily, but I understand why that's an example, especially for like a newer player that isn't used to this. Example 2. A ranger wants to fashion a makeshift raft to cross a river. The castle keeper determines that the ranger was trained in making rafts, or at least would have the general knowledge and how to go about doing so. The ranger player happens to be a lifelong city dweller who has never even camped in the woods or floated in a canoe. In these circumstances, castle keeper should allow the ranger a wisdom check at an easy challenge level to complete the task, even though the player has no idea how to describe his character's action in making the raft.
That makes sense.
That's one of those things that as a younger gamer, I struggled with because I wanted I gotta go grab the leaves. I gotta go grab the logs. I've got to cut the logs. I've got to get the Hey,
no,
Max,
you don't
just
tell me what you need to do. Your character
no,
knows
I have
how to do it.
No. I need to make sure. So I'm also making sure that I seal it with the set. Like, okay,
dude,
nobody cares. You just roll your damn dice. No, that used to be me.
Oh, okay.
That absolutely used to be me.
All right.
Okay. Now you want charisma. So feats of will between two creatures along with situations involving leadership, reaction, loyalty, and negotiation are areas governed by charisma. As with intelligence checks, players should be given the opportunity to succeed through roleplay before checks are required. Yes, opportunity. With the word opportunity, I agree. If the castle keeper deems an argument or negotiation persuasive, then success can be allowed without requiring a check. Under no circumstances should charisma checks replace the need for players to roleplay interactions. I do agree with that, but only on a limited basis.
Yeah. You have to do a bare minimum. Like if you're speaking in character, usually that's good enough for me.
Agreed.
I'll let you have a roll now.
And you don't walk up, what are you doing here? It is something like that to the king.
Unless that's your character. Like you have an intelligence of 5, and that's how you interact with people.
And a charisma of 6.
Yeah, charisma 6. Okay, great. Go for it.
If the character wants a deal from a shopkeeper, the player should have to negotiate that deal. Again, to a point. Mm-hmm. A charisma check might aid in the resolution of the task, but it should not determine it outright. What I look for specifically in stuff like this is, did you say, look, just give it to me. I'm the hero of the land. Give it to me. No, that's not going to help your cause at all. But if you say, no, this quality, I don't know who sold this to you, but this quality isn't what you think it is, buddy. This thing's only worth 10 gold, not 100 gold. So sorry, maybe you can get some other schmooze, poser to buy it from you, but not this guy. Okay, make a charisma check. Oh, you passed it? Okay, he'll sell it to you. Sell it to you for 12. Something like that. Then I can see the role, but other than that, I try not to make the role playing too much. At the same time, some people are just glib. Some people just know how to talk, know how to sell ice to an Eskimo. And, then that person's playing the dumb fighter with a charisma of 5 and the intelligence of 5, as we talked about a moment ago. I don't want that character doing all the haggle rolls. That's not what that character was designed for. Just because the player can do it doesn't mean that the character can do it. So there's got to be a balance in there.
Okay, Shatsar said something here. Roleplay shouldn't eliminate a check. I agree, but good roleplay should be rewarded by making that check easier.
Yes.
Definitely. Because the reason you don't eliminate checks for good roleplay, because not everyone is as good a role player as everyone else.
Right.
And these other people are going to start feeling pissed off that they have to make all these die rolls where Teddy, the thespian douchebag over here, doesn't have to roll a damn thing ever.
Right. Let's also think about all of a sudden you're playing the bard, right? So you should have a high charisma, but maybe you don't. But you like the class's abilities and powers and so on and so forth. But again, the fighter with the 5 intelligence, 5 charisma is getting all the haggle rolls, is schmoozing all the members of the opposite sex or same sex if that's your thing. Is getting all the free booze, and so on and so forth. No, that fighter should not be taking over the role of the bard. Simply because the character doesn't role play well, I can't allow that.
Yeah.
All right, so a charisma check might aid in the resolution of the task, but it should not determine it outright. Successful charisma check in negotiation of peace treaty, for example, might cause the opposing side to offer a small concession, but the ultimate success will depend on the player's role-playing ability. Again, I struggle with that one. What I would do is I would just have it be multiple rolls. Like, you have to get a total of 3 successes. Whatever happens first, 3 successes or 3 failures. Negotiations go on until one side or the other gets 3 successes, 3 failures. However, as with wisdom, sometimes a character's charisma will be greater than the player's ability to roleplay that charisma. There we go.
Yep.
The castle keeper should take that into account when making situational rulings. A paladin with an 18 charisma would have some success in convincing a group of villagers to aid in hunting down an evil bandit in the region, even if the player cannot deliver a speech like Julius Caesar. If the player can give an adequate speech, the modicum of acting or oration ability, right there, bam, hey, Shadzar. The castle keeper should allow some success. Imposing one's will over another creature is one of the most difficult situations for a castle keeper to referee. In such cases, a character's charisma score is the primary determinative of success. There we go. In most cases, a roll may not even be required. I don't ever let one player do this to another player.
No. This is for the NPCs only.
Yes. Example 1. A hireling wishes to quit the party after a particularly dangerous fight. The castle keeper might allow a character, after some role-playing and charisma check, to determine whether or not the hireling changes his mind. Pussy, what the fuck? You just leaving? Is that how you do it? You abandon us? Hold on, let's roll.
Like that, but yeah.
Hey,
sure.
Maybe in that society, maybe he's an orc. Half orc. Yeah, but the point being is, like, you say something like that, that's not going to be a good charisma check for you. Bagan, a druid, decides to mediate a deal between 2 feuding merchants. Bagan's charisma is a 17 and a prime attribute. After some role-playing, the castle keeper decides that Fagan's player has given the negotiations an honest try and allows a charisma check. The check is successful, and the castle keeper rules that one merchant might settle if the price is right. Adding character levels to checks. So remember we were talking before, it doesn't happen all the time. It happens most of the time.
Okay.
There will be times when a player will want a character to attempt an action that intrudes in the realm of the class ability of another character class. I forgot about this. Yeah, now I know what I'm reading. For example, a fighter might wish to open a lock, or wizard might attempt to track. It is up to the castle keeper to decide if such an action is even possible. In general, it is recommended that a castle keeper should disallow a character a chance of success in attempting a non-class ability. I stress the heroicness of it. Also, if you don't have that class available.
Yeah.
If a castle keeper, for whatever reason, does allow a character to attempt to use a class ability of another class, then the siege engine attribute mechanic changes in one significant way. Character does not add his level to the attribute check roll.
That's good. I like that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Instead, the character rolls a d20 and adds the appropriate attribute modifier only.
I like that.
I do as well. I would still limit certain things, like, no, I'm not going to let the fighter read the caster spellbook. Fair. But let's use your option. Well, no, that was what you were talking about before. Let's use the option. The wizard is smart. Let's say he even has a background in tinkering. Let's say it's a gnome. No, I'm not going with tinker gnomes, but it's kind of got a little engineering background, right?
Sure.
And needs to pick a lock. Okay, I would allow it with these rules. I mean, that's not his job. I mean, he's smart. He's seen the thief do it maybe a couple of times. Just his background.
He understands how a tumbler works.
Yes.
Right? So why not try?
Right, with a pretty high difficulty level. So, for example, Arak, a 5th level dwarf fighter, attempts to pick a pocket. His dexterity is 13, but it is a secondary attribute. The castle keeper allows the attempt.
I don't see why not. There's no special skill in picking a pocket.
No, you just either miss.
The person either feels it or doesn't. It's just practice.
Either miss, grab it, or grab ass, right?
Yeah.
Arak rolls a d20, scoring a 12. The dexterity modifier +1 is added to the roll for a total of 13. Arik fails, however, as he needed a result of 24 or higher. The challenge was base 18 because secondary attribute, and he was attempting to pick the pocket of a 6th level character.
Makes sense.
Arik, you're not bright, man. Not bright. Notice that it still said 6th level character, and he was 5th level. It's not a different. We talked about this last week, I know, but it's a 6th level character, so it was +6. Not a mathematical difference between the levels. All right. Another example would be Drux, a 5th level fighter with a 12 dexterity. Dexterity is one of Drux's prime attributes. He tries to sneak across a squeaky wooden floor without being heard. Oh, I actually like the description of this coming up here.
Okay.
He tries to sneak across a squeaky wooden floor without being heard by the sleeping wizard on the other end of the room. He scores 16 on his D20 roll and adds nothing because 16 does not beat challenge base of 12 plus the level of 5. He causes the floor to squeak and wakes up the wizard. If Drux were a rogue, he'd be able to add his level and would have succeeded at the task with a total of 21. It is important to note that that the abilities of each class have the best results when used by only that class. For example, a rogue can move silently with an absolute absence of sound. A fighter, therefore, should only be able to move very quietly, even with a successful roll. Notice the nuance. Absence of sound, very quietly. Going on here. A rogue moving silently in order to sneak up on a guard would not alert that guard with a successful check. However, a fighter moving quietly, even with a successful roll, should still stand a chance of being noticed by the guard. Thus, the castle keeper might, stress the word might, allow the guard a wisdom check to notice the fighter moving quietly up behind him.
I can see bitchy players getting, no, I made my check. What the hell, man? You're
not a rogue. I would even go one step further and say if it's a secondary attribute, no. So not only are you not a rogue, it's a secondary attribute. I don't care how high it is.
I get it. But I can see players getting pissed off that they failed their task even with a successful check. I can see that happening.
Yeah, me too. But you know what? Those players can whine. Or the castle keeper. The castle keeper's up front with it and says, "Look, I don't require that. I just run with the base rule and I don't ever do opposed rolls or something." Okay, if it's done in session 0, who cares? Like that's the rules of the game, right?
Yeah. See, I wouldn't do that. If you succeed a check, whether it's a class skill or not, you get it. But I would have it be insanely high. Like,
sure,
you're probably not going to do this. You should have Ricky the Rogue do this instead. No, man, I can do it. I'm going to prove I can do it. You're going to prove something, but it's not going to be that you can do it.
I'm not feeling well, but I'm going to be right back. I do have to run to the little Max Liao's room. I don't know what that is, but I'm running there.
Okay. I'll go with saving throws. Many times during a game, something occurs which requires an attribute check, such as when a dryad attempts to charm a character or a dragon breathes fiery breath upon the character. But the attribute associated with the event causes the check to be. But the attribute associated with the event that causes the check is unclear. For example, what happens when a wight creeps up on an unsuspecting foe and reaches its hand out to steal some part of its soul? This is called an energy drain, and if successful, the character whose energy is drained loses levels. Max now needs to make a saving throw against having his guts explode. Yeah, pretty much that. But the guard's job is to notice such things. Yes, Lost Ogre. I do understand that it makes sense for the guard to roll his wisdom. It makes sense. And being a guard, he would be trained at, guarding things. So I would say he is skilled in it. He gets to add his level. I definitely would. But the reason I wouldn't do it is because players get super pissed off when they fail at tasks after succeeding in checks. They get unruly angry. They just get awful butthurt. And that's just something I don't want to deal with. Smart guards. Yeah, I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but they do exist. Where is it? In this case, the character is being acted on in a potentially harmful manner and must make an attribute check to avoid being harmed. This attribute check is called a saving throw. Often the castle keeper or new players are unsure as to which attribute a particular type of attack or event relates. Saving throws clarify this, as many are the more common types of events are examined. In the case of the White's energy drain, the saving throw relates to Constitution. A saving throw is simply an attribute check for a character to avoid damage or other unwanted alteration or harm caused by a creature's ability and or specific situations or effects. Saving throws are unique only in that the character is being acted on and the attack or events causing it need clarification. A saving throw is an attribute check. Everything's an attribute check in this game. Player rolls a d20 and adds the character's level to the appropriate attribute modifier. If the attribute related to the saving throw primary attribute, the challenge is a 12. If not, it's 18. The Castle Keeper determines the challenge level by such factors as the monster's hit dice, spellcaster's level, or the level of the trap or poison. The Castle Keeper may also give bonuses or impose penalties due to circumstance and situation. The result of failed check throws for a particular type explained below. And we're going to get to that once he comes back. Presumably being a guard means you actually know how to do your job, and thus bypassing them shouldn't be easy. That is correct, Marhaban. Is that that's why the difficulty is going to be way up there. I mean, the difficulty may be more than you could possibly roll, because in this game, 1s are not always failures and 20s are not always successes. So if, for example, you have a dex of 10 and you want to sneak by a guard and you're a fighter, and this guard is 10th level, so that's going to be 28, and you're rolling, you want an 18, and you roll, say, a 5. No, you roll, let's just say you roll a 20. Just say you roll a 20. All right. You can't win, because it's 18. The guard's level is 6. That's 24. You literally cannot win because you can't add your level and you have no modifier. I'll still let you make the check, but you literally cannot succeed in that check. That's what I would do.
Are you still talking about the same thing, or did you move on?
Well, I can't scroll to the page. It's yours.
Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to skip some of this. People who've played role-playing games before should kind of know what a saving throw is. So,
well, they don't. They could be used to saving throw charts. This one is like everything here is based off of stats. So
12 and 18.
Right. So
Still the same thing.
What do you call it? The Castle Keeper has to decide what circumstance will generate what check versus what stat.
That what we're going to talk about, but I just like how to roll the d20. It's the same. It's the same as the rest of the rules again.
Yeah, it's the same as everything else. Yeah.
Because I have one question here, and I want you to comment on this as well, because I'm still a little, I don't get it.
Okay.
All right. So types of saving throws. There are 6 different kinds of saving throws, each corresponding to an attribute. The situations and effects that trigger a saving throw generally fall into one of the following categories. This list is not definitive, but should provide a template for Castle Keepers to determine saving throw category for something not listed here, right? So here are the categories. And again, starts off making sense. Strength, paralysis, constriction. Okay, I can get with that. Intelligence, arcane magic, illusion. Sure. Wisdom, divine magic, confusion, gaze attack, polymorph, petrification. So like gaze attack, remember, that's kind of your gut feeling and so forth. It's like, do you look into the gaze or you go, oh crap, she's got snakes on her head. Dexterity, breath, weapons, traps. Again, makes sense, right?
Sure.
Constitution, disease, energy drain, poison. Oh yeah, and it's your D&D version energy drain in this game, by the way.
Yep.
Here's where I'm like, what? Charisma, death attack.
What?
Charm, fear.
Okay.
So
none of those things I would associate with charisma.
Well, I'm okay with the charm fear thing. Personally, I think that this should fall under wisdom, but charm and fear should fall under wisdom. Your ability to go like what? But I'm guessing it's done because they don't want a dump stat, and I will okay. Personally, I'm okay with this to prevent charisma from being a dump stat. Because somebody mentioned that in our chat earlier. But death attack. So here we go. Let's read death attack. Death attacks.
Oh wait. Shadzar says perilous, polymorph, and petrification should be Constitution. I agree with him. I don't know why it's wisdom. Polymorph and petrification are wisdom. What? That's affecting the body, not affecting the mind.
Well, that's where you and I are going to have to disagree. All right. Well, the petrification side, I'll give up that one. I'll give up petrification. I agree with you on that. Polymorph, though, that's twisting your brain. That's like on a
effect something. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And paralysis is strength because you're fighting through it.
Yeah. Paralysis and it's just magical constriction, basically.
Right.
Yeah. I get
so. Death attacks. Death attacks are rare, and only a few monsters and the rare artifact have them. In most cases, death attacks allow the victim to make a charisma save to avoid the effect. But if the save fails, the character will die instantly. To be fair, I did not look up any of those monsters because I don't think I have them. This is the only book I have and so forth. I still don't...
Why would that go for charisma? I don't understand.
Unless they're saying that charisma is like sense of personality and will, but that should be wisdom.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to quibble it. I'm not going to say this is dumb. All I'm going to say is I don't quite get this one unless the idea is to not have charisma be a dumb stat.
Yeah.
All right. The rest of these energy drain attack takes away levels or attribute scores from the victim unless a successful saving throw is made. And it's just like D&D where you go halfway down to the previous level.
Which sucks. Oh my God. People hate that shit all day.
Characters drained below first level become 0th level characters with no class or abilities. So with me, I have no class. A character drained below 0 level is instantly slain.
Yep. Oh man, if you want a butthurt player, just drain his level. Oh
yeah,
shit.
You know that's one of the few things from the original editions of D&D that I don't like. And you know me, I like undead. I use a lot of undead. I use undead all over the place, but I either try to stay away from level drain or I turn it into something else. Now, shadows, on the other hand, I really like. Draining strength, and if you go down to 0 strength, you turn into a shadow. I like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
I don't like taking away the levels because that's a fight.
City. Oh my God. Causes way more problems.
Yep.
Than you'd think possible.
And as somebody who's had characters level drain, I understand the other side of it. Where, I mean, I like to think that I played it well, like, well, this sucks, but I never felt the same about that character again. Because I couldn't get a restoration. Anyway, so we got feared so far. I'm going to move on. It just talks about the different types here, what you're rolling. Traps make sense for dexterity. So, for example, 5th level rogue sets a trap. 7th level dwarf fighter with dexterity of 9 walks into the trap. A saving throw is required to determine whether or not the fighter sets off the trap and suffers the full effects of it. And it goes into the rolls here. We've done rolls for this game quite a bit now. I don't want another 2.5 hour segment, so
no.
Let's move on here unless you see something useful in chat. Combat. Now we're going to get to the meat of the game, huh? Ready for some combat?
Ready.
Much of the excitement in playing Castles and Crusades occurs during the character's combat with monsters. Okay. Whether a knight battling a horde of bloodthirsty orcs, racist, or a rogue facing off with nefarious pirate, or a cleric turning a vampire, combat is often the climax of many role-playing sessions.
Dude, you're out of 7. We need you out of 5, all right?
Well, the B12 is finally kicking in.
All right.
Combat is also the nexus of many rules in Castles and Crusades. Managing combat is often a challenging affair, as the castle keeper must not only know the rules... Stop right there. I have read so many posts... Well, I've been reading Reddit recently, sorry.
Oh God, why?
For our second segment,
all right.
Where it says that the game master should have an understanding of the rules, but doesn't need to know them all. I kind of get that, but when it comes to combat, you really got to know them.
You got to know the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, either because a few things are going to happen. Number one, player's going to read them and going to do something that you didn't even know possible.
Yep.
You're going to turn a monster that should be really tough into something that's you didn't use its synergistic abilities here, or vice versa. You're going to read a power wrong and think that you just fireballed the entire group. Oh, dragon breath weapon. I can use that 3 times. Awesome. 1, 2, 3. Ha! You're all dead. No. That's 3 times per day, or once every 3 rounds. Or you have to understand that stuff. By the way, those are all scenarios that I ran into.
Okay.
Where is it? Managing combat is often challenging affairs. Castle keeper must, got that. But must also know how to apply the rules fluidly to maintain a sense of excitement through description and action. Here we go. We're going to start talking. Remember I talked to you about the goblins before?
Yep.
To facilitate this, the rules for combat have been kept as simple as possible with much maneuver room left for the castle keeper, and that's the way they should be. The rules are designed to organize the action of combat. Yet, as the essence of combat is its narrative, they also enable the castle keeper to manipulate the rules in support of the narrative. Narrative development is equally important to the game as any combat's results. The rules of combat and its narrative development is discussed below.
Okay. Now, this is basically giving the castle keeper the ability to manipulate the result of combat as long as it progresses the story.
Also, it helps the castle keeper tailor it for a gritty game or a heroic game or a high fantasy game.
For example, off the top of my head, let's say that the group walks in to a whole bunch of henchmen, and all the henchmen immediately draw their swords and are going to go after the party. The wizard throws a fireball into the room. Now, by the numbers, this fireball should just murder everyone in that room. But one person survived because he was behind a bed or a wardrobe or whatever. But he's horribly burned. He can't move, but he's now able to give the party information that the castle keeper needed the party to have. So you made him survive, even though by the numbers he should not have. That fireball should have murdered everyone in that room, but he had to survive. Like that's an example. And another example would be that, well, maybe someone would survive, but you don't want them to, and you can skew it that way. Stuff like that. That's giving the castle keeper the ability to do this, and now it's in the rules as yes, that's fair.
Turning a shoe into a sandwich is polymorph. Neither have minds. Well, then fine. Physical change doesn't require anything mental. I say it does. You are trying to resist the magic that is trying to rewrite the entire code of your body. You can say it how you want for your game. That's how it's done in my game.
Well, a sandwich also doesn't have a wisdom or constitution attribute. So
does it even get a save?
How is it even rolling? Yeah, it can't. Yeah. According to the game, it can't save at all. It just can't.
Always a 1. Everything. When we get up to spell resistance, we'll show you. I'll show you the 1.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a sandwich. I would just say, okay, now it's a shoe. I hope you enjoyed wasting that 6th level spell. So,
and now you're hungry.
Yeah, eat that. Hobo. Each participant acts during the round in an order established by the roll of a d10. This is called initiative. The character with the highest initiative acts first, and each character in turn performs an action until the last character with the lowest initiative has acted. Character attacks during a combat round. The character player rolls a d20 to determine the character hits the opponent. I think we understand the die rolling mechanism of this game so far, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's just move a simple combat round. I'm just going to read the example because this should be enough. If you need more, let me know.
Okay.
Angthar, 5th level barbarian with a 14 strength, attacks the goblin with his battle axe. The player rolls a d20 and the result is 12. Angthar adds his basic attack bonus +4 and his strength bonus +1. I think that's based on 3rd edition, isn't the BAB thing?
Yeah, basic attack bonus is started off in 3rd edition, yeah.
Okay. So to get a total attack roll of 17, the goblin's scaly hide imparts an armor class of 12. Angthar's attack roll of 17 exceeds the goblin's armor class of 12. There we go. Thus, Angthar has successfully hit the goblin with his battle axe. A battle axe inflicts a d8 hit points of damage, so Angthar's player rolls a d8 and adds Angthar's strength bonus, which is +1 to the roll. In this example, Angthar rolled 6 for a total of 7 hit points. The goblin only had 4 hit points, so Angthar has defeated it with one swing of his mighty axe. I have one problem with this.
You're the man.
Good job. And it has nothing to do with this game in and of itself. So anybody watching thinking I'm busting on Castle and Crusade, I'm not. I don't like any game that doesn't have built into the mechanics the potential for an insta-kill. Using Earthdawn as an example, you could be really weak wielding a dagger, but you could still get lucky enough on a character with 30 hit points to keep re-rolling that d4 over. You're probably not going to. But it's one of the things that I even struggle with D&D. That's why I have my own critical charts and so forth. But I like for there to always be the possibility of this dagger, even in my little weak hands, could get lucky enough to kill you.
Yeah, I'm not set on that.
Understood. And it doesn't fit the genre of the game. I get this is nothing about this game itself. It's just, I remember reading this earlier going, it's just a preference of mine. If Angthar had only inflicted 2 points of damage, the goblin would have survived the attack. It then would get to perform an action, perhaps an attack on Angthar with its wicked curved scimitar. If both Angthar and the goblin survived the first round of combat, then a new combat round would begin, started by a new initiative roll. I know a lot of new players have heartburn over that because games don't do that crap anymore. Well, I like it. I like games that roll initiative every round. I prefer them to be D6s and D10s versus D20s, but I like games that roll initiative every round. This sequence would repeat. Earthdawn's mentioned drink, everyone. This sequence would repeat until you drank.
Krantz has the thing. If one of us mentions Earthdawn or Palladium,
no, me Earthdawn, you Palladium, right?
Yeah, then yeah, everyone has to drink.
I think I mentioned Year Zero games more than I do Earthdawn, but we'll go with it. All right. All right. So
we don't want people to die.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So combat terms, not going to go through all of these because they're pretty self-explanatory. Again, I don't want a 2.5 hour.
I would like to note that they keep initiative really simple. You don't add dex modifiers. You don't add any modifiers. It's a
speed factors or anything like that. Yep.
Straight up D10. That's it.
Yep. You got actions, armor class, attack, initiative. I mean, these are all just defined things for combat that you'll see when, you have a sword or cast a spell and so forth. Combat round. One combat round is 10 seconds long. During this round, all the characters, monsters, and non-player characters should get a chance to act. Generally, only one action is allowed, such as making a melee attack or casting a spell. Types of actions are discussed ahead. It is important to remember that each round is an abstract measurement. The actions and activities that occur in a round are not meant to take place during specific segments or seconds. Did you play with a lot of second edition players? I go on segment 4. It should be viewed as a short range of time during which many things happen. Although each character or monster must wait their turn to act as determined by initiative, do not necessarily act in that same order in a narrative sense. The moment of occurrence is not necessarily equal to the initiative roll. This is just for narration. This isn't about when you roll the dice. Don't get crazy. Abstract consideration of the combat round allows for a more fluid and expansive narrative. They say narrative there a lot.
Really?
Surprise. Surprise. Oh, you know what? I've got a surprise for you. Subscribe.
Oh, there it is.
You should have put that over my face a couple of times. Just cover me up.
There you go.
Now I have to get rid of it. Where the hell did I get rid of it? Make it go away. There we go. Before combat begins, the castle keeper determines if one or the other party is surprised. Surprise is a situation in which the adventuring party happens upon monsters and neither is aware or nor expects the other. Surprise establishes who becomes aware first. The group that successfully surprised the other gains a free combat round in which to act. Those that are surprised get no action. After the surprise round, combat proceeds normally. Pretty simple surprise. It's, I think, the way it's done in pretty much every game like this. Yeah. So, I mean, do I have to read all this stuff?
No,
I mean, that's...
No, you're fine. I'm going to be back in just a second.
Okay. There is an example down there we'll get to in a moment. But yeah, it's just typical surprise stuff. And you get to act first, and then after the surprise round, everybody rolls initiative like normal. Initiative. The order of action in a combat round is determined by an initiative roll. We already determined that. Says it may seem chaotic, but this is just a good way for you just to keep control. You're next, you're next, you're next, you're next, and not have that boring methodology of 5th edition where it's always in the same order, which is stupid. God, that's stupid. Just make it a scrum then. Just say everybody acts at the same time. I'm going to start over here. I hate every game that doesn't roll for initiative. There's one exception to initiative. When a creature uses a weapon with a reach of greater than 10 feet against an opponent with a weapon of less than 6 foot reach, or when a large creature is fighting a medium or smaller sized creature, in the first round only, the creature with the longer reach or larger size is allowed to attack first. I think that's in like every modern game now. Probably in some of the older ones too, but I'm pretty sure that idea is in every modern game now. Or larger size allowed to attack, even if the creature with the shorter reach or smaller size won the initiative roll. This rule only applies if the creature with the shorter reach or smaller creature approaches within 10 feet. Such action counts as action for that round for the larger creature. So you don't get any bonus attacks or anything. It's just, go for it. Subscribe. There you go. He smashed in subscribe in chat. Here we go. Let's get you on the screen there. That one. Boom, boom. Subscribe. Okay. Combat actions. In a combat round, characters can perform a wide variety of actions. Well, let's just go read what they are. There's attack, cast a spell, use an ability, may perform one class or racial ability each round. Some abilities like spells take more than one round to complete. Some monsters can perform more than one ability per round. Ability may involve movement, but in most cases, the movement will not exceed the normal movement rate. Otherwise, the castle keeper retains discretion as to whether an ability use involves movement. I like how they don't beat it in your face, but they keep saying that the castle keeper's in charge. You can use an item. non-lethal, and multiple actions. Non-lethal should seem very familiar to people. So, for example, characters a haste cast on them. Started up here. Castle Keeper may allow more than one action per round under special circumstances. I cannot talk. For example, if a character has a haste spell cast on him. Also, some non-combat actions a character may take might not consume a full round. Now, again, I'm trying to kind of breeze through this a little bit faster here. Maybe that's not good for the combat section, but some things I want to note when it comes to the not grappling, the unarmed combat or the subdual damage in this game. It's typically 1 to 2 points of damage. Every 5 points of subdual damage equals 1 real damage, so you actually mark off a true hit point and so forth. The idea is, of course, just to subdue somebody, knock them out, and so forth. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. A monk is always doing real damage, unless he declares he's not. So anyway, generally the movement rate should not be reduced by more than... Okay, so an attacker can move 1/2 his movement rate and still attack. No attack is allowed if a character exceeds 1/2 his movement rate. I'm not going to say there if you're only doing an individual. If characters exceed 1/2 their movement rates. There we go. The only exception to this rule is when a charge is attempted. Charging allows for an attack and full movement, but the special rules for charging apply. We'll get to that later. Okay. So, again, the combat is simple. It's actually, I think, kind of simpler than D&D. I don't know 3rd edition well enough, but when charging, the attacker suffers -4 penalty to armor class for the combat rounds because you're pretty much going in a straight line. Penalty applies even if the charge attack is not successful. The penalty also applies to the defender attacks first due to size or weapon length or by ranged attack. So no matter what, you're getting -4 to your AC. All right, melee combat. Melee occurs when 2 creatures engage in hand-to-hand combat. The attacker rolls a d20, adds a basic to hit bonus, plus any strength modifier. I think we've gone through these die rolls a lot here. But let's note something that we haven't actually directly looked at before. A monster's basic to hit bonus is equal to its total number of hit dice. We mentioned it earlier in the segment, but where a character gets a level, like a level 3 character would get a +3, that translates for a monster's hit dice. So a character with 3 hit dice gets a +3. I've skipped some things because it was just defining terms or...
What page are we on?
173. If anybody has any complaints, they can type in chat. We'll go back. But I talked about everything that there is. I just skipped some of the definitions and whatnot. Where if the total is greater than or equal to the defender's armor class, the attacker has successfully hit the defender and inflicts damage. Again, if you played a game, you've got it. If you haven't played a game, this probably isn't your best first video anyway. It's important to note that a melee attack, like combat round and movement, is also an abstraction. And I'm so glad they put this in here. Again, when I was younger, I was the problem with this one. As I've gotten older, I've worked with people that this is a problem. A character usually makes only 1 attack per round. I would stress 1 attack die roll per round, or 1 attack roll per round. It should not be considered a single swing. A melee attack involves a series of parries and thrusts, along with attack and defensive maneuvers that sometimes results in damage to the defender. The damage could be from 1 blow or could be representative of a series of blows or fatigue. What was that game that you played? Stargate SG-1 had that had that system in there.
Yes, it did.
What was it? It wasn't called Vitality. What was it called? Stamina, something like that.
I can't remember right now, but yeah, it had a thing where you use this up and you get tired, and then it was very very much like Vitality and Health. It was very much like that. But the point was to prevent a bullet from taking you out of the game on the first round of combat, only doing 3 points of damage. Right.
Kant says, this stuff is pretty standard. Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah.
Range combat is... Oh, sorry.
We can probably move on. This is pretty standard.
Okay. There were a couple things in here. Pummeling, overbearing. So unarmed combat, I'm just going to go over it a little bit.
I've always found unarmed combat in every system to be unwieldy. Like it always ends up being harder than it should be, but I don't know how to fix it.
So in older games, I think it's because they tried to put in too much realism. Palladium's a perfect example of that. Tried to put in with all their stupid martial arts and so on and so forth. D&D, kind of the same thing with the punching wrestling chart. Tried to put a little bit too much realism in it. I like what Forbidden Lands has done. I kind of like what this game has done. But here's where the second problem comes in. the narrative then goes to the player, and the player's like, no. If somebody's punching at me at this angle, I can block like this, grab the like, that's not what happened. Combat is too fast for that. I know your character's trained, but so is that other character. So no. What happened was you rolled, you missed, he rolled, he hit. Now we're going to describe it a little bit better. That you know what I'm saying? So sometimes the player's like, no, if I'm bent over, then what should happen? He should have to come down on my back. He shouldn't be able to trip me. Stop it.
No, he is skilled just like you are, and you fell for a feint. You moved left when you should have moved right. He tricked you. He duped you.
Yep.
And now he's able to trip you and get you on the ground. That's how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Grappling involves grabbing and holding the defender, as with classical wrestling, or a snake constricting its body around its prey. Grappling is directed at holding an opponent and subduing them. Oh, I just said them. Damn it, I'm dirty. But so the grappling, the point isn't to do damage. The point is to literally grapple, as it says. Again, Forbidden Lands has some really good rules on this. This game does too, I feel, at least for a D20 system. The armor class, okay, well, actually, let me say this. The attacker rolls a D20 and adds any strength modifier and the bonus to hit. The armor class of the defender in an overbearing attack is different than normal. A defender without strength as prime has a standard AC of 12. A defender with strength as prime has a standard AC of 18. Are you starting to see where this is going?
Mm-hmm.
Armor has little effect on the capacity to defend against this type of attack is not included. So your armor class or your plate mail does not matter. And I've heard arguments for and against. Let's put it this way. They're going to cancel each other out. You might say that you're a stoic golem with your feet spread, shoulders width apart. Nobody can take you down. I'm also going to tell you that you're overweight because you're wearing that plate mail armor. It's clunky to begin with. And now you're on your ass. The AC is modified by the strength, the dexterity, and the size difference between the two opponents. If an attacker is larger than a defender, apply +2 for every size category larger. Here's an example. The example's down here. Large troll attacks a small 5th level rogue halfling and tries to knock him off a bridge into a raging river. The halfling has strength as a prime and therefore has a base armor class of 18, modified by a 14 strength +1. And his base to hit +2, so a total of 3, so 18. For a total AC of 21. But the troll is 2 sizes larger, so a -4 adjustment to the halfling's armor class results in an AC of 17. Also, remember, Heathen Dog wasn't here for it, but if that troll is 2 size levels bigger, that means that troll gets to attack first.
Oh, he wins initiative?
Automatically the first round, yep.
Wow, okay.
Now, that doesn't change armor class or anything.
Right, just initiative. Got it.
Touch attack. Do you need me to go overbearing and pummeling?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Touch attack. A touch attack is one in which an attacker is simply trying to touch an opponent. This often occurs with spells that require a touch to be successful. This is important because I play casters a lot. With a touch attack, a standard armor class of 10 is used for all defenders, adjusted only by the dexterity and special modifiers resulting from, for example, magic items or spells. Monsters use the base 10 AC with no modifier. That means I did not just touch your plate mail, and because you have I guess it'd be like a 30 armor class or whatever happens to be in this game, that now you're immune. I touched you. I got a 10 or better. You don't have a dex bonus. Touch. You're affected by the contagion or whatever spell. This is a point. I don't know why. I play with so many DMs. When I played even 3rd edition D&D, I've only played 5th edition once, but they take this out. They're like, no, that makes wizards too powerful. You just took away all my spells.
No, it's not even that. I mean, it makes wizards. It's extremely dangerous
to touch somebody
close into melee combat with a fighter. If you're a wizard, if you do not get this thing off, you will probably die. You are in a ride or die situation right now. You are all in.
So my Hawkman has a message for you.
If you screw this up, he's going to cleave you in half.
You're welcome to ban him. All right. Situational modifiers are somewhat nebulous, and for the most part, those that the castle keeper deems appropriate. It goes into things like cover and so forth.
Yeah, that's in every game, right?
Right. It gives some options here. Defenders prone or blind, prone and defenseless, etc., etc. Okay. You can choose to use these numbers. You can choose to modify them as you see fit. Armor class. One of the things I want to talk about armor class is I like the use of shields and helms. I think we all understand how armor class works. If you don't, well, again, this probably isn't the video you're supposed to be watching anyway, because it's pretty basic.
Watch the 2-hit armor class 0 video. It goes over somewhat.
That for an older method, yeah. But shields, I like this. Every shield has a +1 modifier to armor class. There you go, done. But the size of the shield determines how many opponents the +1 modifier applies against. Small shields only offer adjustment against 1 attacker, medium shields against 2 attackers, and large shields against 3 attackers.
Okay.
Now helms. Armor class adjustment for helmets apply to strikes against the head only. They do not otherwise adjust the armor class. If there's an instance where the castle keeper determines that a blow lands on the head, either through the head being the only exposed target or some other circumstance, the AC of the head, 10 plus dexterity. Oh, it is 10 plus dexterity. Each helmet's adjustment is listed in the equipment list. Normal helm, for example, has a +5, so that would make it 15 plus dexterity.
Sure.
I just wanted to point that out there because you're probably going to want to wear a head Probably going to want to wear a helm, or people are going to start taking called shots against your open noodle.
Yep, because that's an easy hit. I mean, even if they have a modifier for a called shot, which I'm sure they do, it's still going to be a lot easier to hit your head than it will be your plate mail armor.
Or try to get through it, right? Yep.
Try to get through it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Dexterity modifies a character's armor class if that character can physically react to an attack. Characters lose their dexterity modifier when they are surprised, unaware of an attacker, or when they're restrained or otherwise rendered immobile. Indeed, it's characters there. That's smart. Dexterity does not apply, for example, when a character is attacked from the rear. Of course.
Unless you're aware of the attacker.
I mean,
if you know there's a guy behind you, you're not going to just ignore him.
You might not, but if you can't see him when he's going to attack, if there are 4 people around you.
But the thing is, if you know there's a guy behind you, you are going to stay mobile. You're going to be aware of his presence, and
if you can,
you're going to stay moving around.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one for game mechanic purposes, but
I don't agree with that one for any purpose.
I do, because I can absolutely set you up in a situation where you can't see the attack coming. You might see the person on the peripheral, but you won't see the attack coming.
No, but the thing is, you are aware that an attacker is there and could attack you at any time.
Right, but you don't know when, and you're probably going to be focused on... Actually, you are going to be focused on the ones in front of you. It all really depends on how they're positioned, too. But never saw that some armors come with it. Yes, armor... Well, you can either buy them on their own. I'd have to look at the list again. It's still not showing up here, but that's a YouTube comment. But yes, the helm portion of it, I'd have to look back up at armors. But some, I think, do come with it. Others you buy on their own.
Right.
Cover. It goes into cover. It talks about armor class here. Magic. There are numerous other modifiers that can be applied to armor class. Spells, magic armor, and rings, or other unique items and situations can increase or decrease armor class. A character's condition, such as being stunned, poisoned, or fatigued. Actually, I thought this had more into it. It didn't. This is just general stuff again. There are numerous situation modifiers we can adjust armor class. So it's just talking about armor class. This is where I wanted to go to. Combat maneuvers. Players try all manner of inventive actions during combat. How true is that? Didn't we just talk about that a little bit ago? Like, no, I actually block like this. Yeah. That should not expose my...
Right.
Shut up. Some of the more common combat maneuvers are listed and described below. Remember, the castle keeper has the final authority in this, not you, unless you're the castle keeper. To be introduced slowly and with practice to ensure they meld with the style and tempo of play desired by... God damn it, I can't talk. By both the player and the castle keeper. And in this point, this is where I say that the book was written by a 5-year-old, and I'm done reading. I'll let you read whatever you want.
Okay. Where am I starting?
Dodge.
Dodge.
If you want to read it. I mean, you can... Okay. Most of this is kind of self-explanatory.
In this case, a character can dodge up to 3 attacks in a round that originate from an attacker or attackers, which they are facing and are aware of. If dodging, the character sacrifices their action. Okay, I see what happened here.
But it's not just that. Go back to the last sentence.
Yeah.
Which they are facing and are aware of.
Yep.
Of.
Preposition bastard. All right. They do not need to roll initiative, but must announce their intention before the round begins. If dodging, the character sacrifices his action in that round. He does not need to roll initiative, but must announce his intention before the round begins. The character cannot attack, cast spells, move, or use any ability or item. The character gains a +2 to their armor class while dodging. Character can dodge every round should he desire. Okay. So the
You
idea
don't have to change that for me.
You like that?
Yeah, I do.
The idea of dodging is more like evasive maneuvers in
Yes.
Get Ready to Drink, Earth Dawn. Where
it's not evasive maneuvers. I don't have to drink.
It is something you're doing all round.
Yep.
You can't do anything else because you are flipping, twisting, jumping. That's what you're doing. You're making yourself as difficult a target as possible the entire 10 seconds.
I scrolled down just to show you. Here you go. Evade. We'll get to that in a moment.
Okay. Disengaging from combat. Let's see if we have attack of opportunity. Disengaging from combat is a dangerous maneuver since it exposes the character to attacks, but it automatically puts distance between the disengaging party and their opponent. The player must announce that he is disengaging at the beginning of the round. The disengaging character does not roll initiative. If disengaging character can take no other action. If disengaging character can take no other action. Okay, the character is allowed a movement as defined below. Player characters, monsters, and non-player characters can disengage from combat. Hasty disengagement is one in which the character or monster attempts to leave combat and expends all effort doing so.
It's an interesting little comment. I've never done this or seen this in a game, but it's interesting.
Many DMs that have players that take too long to decide on what their initiative and form of dodge action instead of after 30 seconds of indecision. Yeah, okay. I can see that. A character disengaging hastily may move as far away as possible up to their maximum running distance, but they suffer a -2 to armor class, and their opponent gets an attack against them as he runs away. This is a free attack and does not count against the opponent's other action in the round, although the opponent may not make a second attack against a fleeing character. The armor class adjustment lasts throughout the combat round and applies to every attack against the fleeing character. Okay,
so basically you get to attack right away just to say you got it, but it doesn't give you bonuses or bonus attacks.
Right. You don't get bonus attack.
I'm sorry.
Right no. You don't get you don't. You're not allowed to hit him twice because when it's finally your turn, he's too far away, unless of course you have a ranged attack to hit him with. But he gets to, at the end of the round, he will be his full running distance round away from you. But when he turns to sprint away, you get your attack then. Right then. No matter what your initiative was, you get your attack then.
That's for the hasty one.
Yes, the hasty disengagement. Fighting disengagement is a more carefully executed withdrawal from combat. By performing a fighting disengagement, a character moves 1/2 their movement rate or less away from their opponent, and they can disengage from combat. The character suffers no penalty to armor class, but they cannot take any other action, that round. In the round following disengagement, the character or monster has put distance between themselves and their opponent. Okay. That's fine. Disarm. A fighter, ranger, knight, rogue, assassin, cleric, and paladin. We're missing a comma, but okay.
Well, you don't have to do the Oxford comma there. They're separate.
You really should though.
I don't.
You really should.
They're already separate. Cleric and paladin are two totally different things. I hate the Oxford comma. Fuck the British and Oxford.
All right. Go on. You change the meaning of a sentence when you don't use it. Okay. The character must successfully hit an armor class equivalent of 18 plus the hit dice or level of the defender to successfully disarm them. Okay, so this is your called shot, is armor class equivalent of 18 plus the hit dice or level of the defender.
See, I like that the rules in the game, but I always hate this rule in like every game. You know how we were talking before about the grappling thing?
Yeah.
I never find a disarm rule that makes sense where the characters don't try it either every single round or say it's stupid, I'm never doing it.
Right. For example, a ranger would need to hit an armor class of 23 to disarm a 5 hit dice creature or 5th level opponent. The defender receives a dexterity bonus to his armor class if applicable. Okay.
Max's grammar rage. It says Max's grammar rage is fickle.
Yeah, there you go. Evade. This is what you wanted me to get to. This maneuver is a desperate attempt to avoid being hit and involves using all of one's energies to dodge and parry blows, but remain engaged in combat. If evading, the character sacrifices his action in that round. He does not need to roll initiative, but must announce his intention before the round begins. The character cannot attack, cast spells, move, or use any ability or item. The character doing this is allowed to evade one opponent they are facing. Evade confers a +4 bonus to armor class against a single opponent. In one-on-one, this is pretty good, but
outside of that,
yeah. But dodge only gives you a +2. So it's the exact same thing, but it's evading everyone.
Well, I almost think that they're labeled backward. It's not a big deal to me, but I almost feel like the dodge should be called evade, or I guess that's disengage. The dodge should be more of an evasion, and the evade should be more of a dodge. Again, I might be just parsing there. It doesn't really matter. It's just
no. It's fine either way. But I see where you're coming from. But evade is for one-on-one combats only, and dodge is for melee.
And when I think of dodge, I think of one-on-one, and when I think of melee, or evade, I do think of melee. But I'm not going to quibble that. I really don't care.
Yeah, that's whatever. Yeah, that's just it's not illusionist, so I'll give it a pass. Flank attack. The flank attack takes place to the left or right rear side of the defender. Flank attack should be used consistently for monsters and characters alike. The defender may or may not be aware of the attack, but in any case is less capable of defending against the flank attack than from those in the front. A flank attack confers a +1 bonus to hit. Well, yeah, I mean, it's nice, but it's not like super bad if you're flanked.
No, most games I see actually do a +2. Well, so there is a drawing I think in here somewhere. Or maybe it's not in this book. Maybe it's another one I looked at. Where they do the hexes just like Earth Dawn. Drink. Where it's or Battletech even, where the front 3 are the front, the next 2 are the flanks, and the rear is the rear.
Right. Rear attack. Attack to the rear gives a +2 instead of +1. Okay, that's fine.
Unless
the rogue and assassin do not get this in addition to their back attack bonus, as is already considered in their class abilities. Okay, cool. All right. No stacking modifiers. I guess
this is where I kind of stopped reading and skipped ahead to the next section. So I did not read 2-weapon fighting.
Yeah, we don't need to go over it.
You can see right here +3, -6.
Yeah.
So this is where the narrative of combat. This is where the goblin thing. I'm going to scroll all the way down here. Okay. Because it talks about capturing the player's attention and so forth. It's nothing major. Not actually capturing characters and hiding them in your basement or players.
Mm-hmm.
But it says, compare the following 2 descriptions of an attack in combat. The goblin swings at you. He hits, and you take 3 points of damage. Versus, the goblin twists about, brings his sword across your shin. There you have no armor, and the notch blade cuts the cloth of your leggings effortlessly to score through flesh and blood, biting to the bone out for 3 hit points damage. To me, that's the difference between a board or a new game master versus one who is invested in the combat. Right. Neither is inherently wrong. And this, I've seen game masters go way too far. And again, one of the things I was guilty of many years ago. Like I would take like an hour and a half to describe how you just took 3 points of damage. But I like this narrative. I think this is a really well done narrative. So. Good descriptions help pace a combat and keep the players lively and excited.
Okay.
So it is important to note that characters should be allowed to participate in the narrative description. So I'm not going to read the rest of that, but I like that sentence again because, if a player wants to say, oh, yeah, I'm not wearing armor across here because I'm only wearing a partial breastplate. Oh, he must have got me on this arm. Oh, shake it free. However he wants to do that, right? I'm technically not role playing there, but as a game master, I'll be like, yeah, there you go. You've got blood coming down. It's making that starting to make your hand slick, and hopefully it'll start sticking to it. But hey, you're not left-handed because that's my left hand. Whatever. As movement. So let the player help describe it.
Right. Exactly. Let's move on to death. Let's move on to hit points. This is going to be page 178 in the middle of the right paragraph, starting with in general, when 0 hit points are reached.
Oh, yep. Got it right there.
The character or monster passes out. They are not dead, but rather incapable of acting while passed out due to blood loss and physical or mental damage. The character or monster is unable to act and is unconscious or gravely wounded. Those so wounded, if still conscious, can do little more than crawl from a battlefield or call out for help.
Isn't that the same as incapacitated in the World of Darkness games?
Yeah. You're not dying, but you're not doing anything. Those with
shots
zero
are an optional rule in the CK guide. Oh, okay.
Those with 0 hit points recover consciousness in 1d6 hours, after which they can move at 1/2 their normal movement rate, but still cannot participate in combat, cast spells, turn undead, or any strenuous or demanding action. The full effect of magical healing of characters reduced to 0 hit points is immediate. Oh, okay, cool. At -1 to -6. See, that this is a thing. A lot of games have like, oh, well, at 0 you're not dying, but you're not doing anything. That is, you know how rare it is for someone to be brought down to
exactly at 0. Yeah,
never. I've never seen it.
I have never, but it's rare. And at one time, it was in a game where the game master says 0 means dead. Yay! Guess whose character it was?
That was you. At -1 to -6 hit points, the character or monster is unconscious and grievously wounded. They require bed rest to recover. Unless magically healed, a character so wounded must rest for 24 hours before the process of healing begins. With most magical healing, the character's hit points can only be returned to 0, after which the healing proceeds normally. Okay, all right. So up to -6, you're not actively dying. That's good. I like that.
Gives you a little wiggle room.
Yeah. A knight is struck by a club from an eton and reduced to -1 hit points. Before healing begins, the knight must wait 24 hours. However, a cleric of goodly intent decides to share the grace of their deity with the knight and cast a Cure Light Wounds on the knight. The cure is for 8 points, but the knight is only brought back to 0. However, healing can proceed as normal thereafter. Okay.
I like that. I like that
0
rule.
is a hard wall if you're under it.
Yes, I like that. I absolutely, because once you first of all, you should want to flee a combat that you're losing.
Yes.
And, sometimes bad rolls and weird things happen. When you start getting close to 0, you should be thinking about how the heck to get out of there. And if you go below 0, you pretty much realize that, crap, I'm out for a while. But it also goes back to that old school mentality of we go to the dungeon, we clear out a few rooms, we grab the stuff, we go back to town, rest, repair, we go back into the dungeon. Not this whole, we clear everything in 2 sessions because we have, an hour rest or 8 hour rest or whatever the hell it's.
Yeah, and we have like 18 healing spells that'll bring us from -5 to 100. Yes, 0 is a hard wall. If you go under 0, you can heal up to 0, but there's your hard wall right there. Now, from what I hear, from what I'm reading, the healing process proceeds as normal after you hit 0, which means a second healing spell would actually heal hit points again.
Yes,
above 0. But you need to do 2, or else, because once you hit 0, you're out. You're out for the 1d6 hours.
No, I hear the complaints already. Well, 5th edition makes it that I'm not just a stupid heal bot all the time. I get to do other things. No, you're a cleric. You're a heal bot. Shut up.
Yes, a character can still roleplay at negative hit points because it allows you to like crawl away or maybe say some final lines or something, something dramatic. You can do that.
Tell my wife I said hello. Futurama.
Tell my wife's sister that she was always hotter. All right. Let's see here. At -7 to -9 hit points. The character or monster is mortally wounded and loses 1 hit point per round after reaching -7.
You go from meh to you got up to 3 rounds left, buddy.
Yep. Aid administered to the wounds stops the hit point loss. This takes at least 1 full round during which no hit point is lost. After 24 hours have passed, the normal healing process described for -1 to -6 begins.
So you're going through this for a couple of days.
Yeah. If you don't have any magical healing, then you're out. You're out for a long time. At -10, death occurs immediately. Only resurrection, reincarnation, or bribes to the castle keeper can remedy death. I like that they added in bribes. That was good. I like that.
Well, I think all of us, I know you took bribes. You had a wall locker full of Mountain Dew.
Oh yeah, I love taking bribes. I take bribes all day. I'd be a great politician.
This is pretty standard fare. I'm sorry if you have more to say on that.
I do.
Okay.
-7 to -9. You don't have to roll a check to save this person. You just have to use your action for that round and say you are tending his wounds, and you succeed in tending his wounds. I like that.
So Lost Ogre, what I'm told is that 5th edition is built around the concept of keep the people playing. So healing, apparently kids nowadays, first of all, as I've said in a few other episodes, I shouldn't say kids, players nowadays, they don't play for 8 hours like we did. They play for 3 to 4 and then they start complaining that it's boring. That's number one. Number two, they don't understand that a dungeon isn't supposed to be cleared in one day. It's supposed to be gone back to over and over again. You may never clear it. Not that it's big, it's just it might get too hard, or you might have something else more important to do. But hey, it was a good chance to get in there, maybe get some treasure, kill a couple green slimes, something. No, they don't do that anymore. Nowadays, it's like, hold on, we're going to rest. The only way to truly kill a party in 5th edition is not let them rest. Because as soon as somebody has a rest, a bard can sing a song apparently from 60 feet away to bring you back to like 1 hit point or something crazy. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. It's hard to die in 5th edition.
You can die, to be clear, but it is very, very, it's stupidly difficult. It's like, it's cartoonish. There we go. That's the word I want to do. It's cartoonishly difficult.
Yeah.
5 is a superhero game. There are already powerful heroes at first level. 18 is a survival game. The way I likened it, Dave and Babbitt, was 5th edition is hero to superhero. 1st and 2nd edition are 0 to hero. But it meets the same thing that you're saying.
I'm scrolling down. I'm looking. Okay, this other stuff is
same stuff.
Yeah, same shit. But you wanted something about spell resistance. That's on 189.
Yeah. I do want to. The only thing I want to mention about turn undead is that paladins can be turned by evil clerics.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. All right.
So I'll mention that. So evil clerics can assume control of undead. Yeah, that's if you do the destruction thing. If you're 5 levels higher, it's a very simple rule. 5 levels higher and so forth. So paladins turn undead as cleric. Paladins themselves can be turned by evil clerics, and it says it more than once.
Wow. All right. I've never seen that. I've never seen that in a game.
Talks about how to give. You know what it doesn't say though, at least that I saw.
What?
Didn't say, because clerics can turn undead, right? But don't they usually have the ability to also to turn demons and devils?
Usually, yes.
I thought so. I did not see that.
Banish.
Well, no, wizards
banish.
Wizards banish. I thought the clerics just turned.
Nope.
Okay.
If you are not on your home plane and you are of a diametrically opposed alignment or something bullshit like that, you can banish them with the power of Christ compels them to go back to wherever they came from.
All right, so somebody can correct either or both of us in chat at some point in the future. But yeah, this is same, again, money, movement. What it talks about, remember before we didn't know how many languages people start off with?
Yeah.
It's the same as D&D. It's you start off with your base language plus your intelligence modifier.
Okay, good. All right.
So movement is abstract.
Yeah, it was very unclear during character creation. Just gave a whole list.
Do I want to get you going off on the whole deep vision thing?
No, you don't.
Okay, so deep vision, twilight vision, dark vision, dust vision. Excuse me. Damn it. I need to get my cough button over here. I'm sorry. Castles and Crusades is a round is 10 seconds and a minute is 6 rounds. Go figure. What am I looking for? Below is a brief explanation of purpose and role of each class. You would think this isn't needed.
It isn't.
But I disagree only for the point of I'm not even talking to the new player, because the new player is going to look at it and be like, well, it says fighter. Isn't that my job?
Fight, right? Yep. All right.
I'm looking at the player that's like, well, I want to play a fighter who's a pacifist, okay? And all my skills are actually not in sword use. It's in running away and survival. No.
You're a fighter.
Play the game the way you're supposed to play it.
Let me check the book. Sissy bitch is not a class, so no.
Most poor DMs don't handle vision correctly. Again, some of these comments are coming from YouTube for the people on Twitch who didn't see it. But I don't waste my time with vision is the way I see it. I do care if
it's important to the combat or the story, then
correct.
Yeah, sure.
Darkness spells, absolutely.
Yeah.
But specifically going out to 40 feet and whatnot, I'm like, do you have infravision? Yeah, you see this. You have night vision.
Exactly.
You see that. Yeah.
You're gonna. How am I gonna say this? Eyeball this.
Yes.
I know that was kind of punished, but whatever.
No,
David, my big problem with the vision in this game came about when we were reading Dwarves and Gnomes, because deep vision and dark vision The exact same thing, except deep vision goes 120 feet and dark vision goes 60 feet. And like we just said, Max and I, we're not going down to the inches with this stuff, okay? So deep vision and dark vision are the same damn thing. They're literally described exactly the same except for the range. That's it. That's the only difference. Why can't they both have deep vision? Just
one with 60-foot range and one with 120.
Gnomes have 60-foot range. That's it. Why make another vision that's exactly the same as something else? That's stupid. It's just dumb.
All right. So stat blocks for creatures. You should be able to read it if you've ever played the games before. If not, well, you should be a player right now anyway until you get used to the stuff. And then you'll be able to read these stat blocks with no problems. Oh, they actually give a couple examples of NPCs and how the stat block would look for an NPC as well. All right. I want to get to Castle Keeper in the game. Nope. Don't care about that.
Optional rules.
Here we go. Optional.
Yep. I knew you'd love this.
So I'm not going to read through all of this. A couple things it says is like, hey, Castle Keeper picks and chooses optional rules, makes his own optional rules, or says no, or whatever. Multi-classing in Castles and Crusades. Multi-classing is a means by which a player can create a more developed character with a wider range of abilities than normally allowed by a single class. I would argue, I don't necessarily disagree with this on the surface, but ultimately, then just play a skill-based game or create more character classes. I don't know. I've always had struggled with multi-class, especially dual classing, but I've never really liked it. Like, if you want to be a rogue, be a damn rogue. You want to be a rogue that can fight, just up your stats and get better weapons. I don't know. Anyway, rule 1, the Castle Keeper is the ultimate arbiter of which classes can be combined.
There you go.
Are we good? Okay. All right. So, for example, a fighter...
fair.
What was that?
But it's not fair.
It is fair because the Castle Keeper creates the rules.
I should be able to do whatever I want. It's my vision.
It is your vision. The Castle Keeper creates the rules. That's the fairness of it. Castle Keeper says that, no, you can't do that. It's fair because he'd tell the person sitting next to you no. Or maybe he already told that person yes, and that's why you can't do it. He doesn't want to. I don't know.
But you're taking away my agency.
I never gave it to you in the first place.
Oh, no.
All right. So here we go. The decision to multi-class. I mean, look, as somebody posted to one of our Castles and Crusades videos and said something to the effect of like, would you allow a halfling barbarian ninja or something, or psionic ninja? And I was like, off the cuff, no. No, and not even about this game. Even in D&D, I would not allow a halfling barbarian ninja. I wouldn't allow it. At the same time, I am the same guy that allowed a player to play a fairy dragon. So depending, if you're doing it for numbers purposes, the answer is no. If you're doing it for meta purposes, the answer is no. If you're doing it because you think you can actually develop a pretty cool character from that, I might start leaning towards that. So, all right. So, multi-class must be made during the character creation process, so you can't surprise it on them later. Humans can combine with up to 3 classes, and demi-humans can combine with 2 classes. You're actually going to find out why in a moment here. Any classes can be combined that do not have conflicting alignments, so no assassin paladins. Sorry. If the Castle Keeper has removed alignment restriction from the game, then any combination is possible. Now, paladins must be lawful good. Prime attribute. The character must have the prime attribute for the class chosen.
Oh, that's why it's 2 and 3, because demi-humans get 2 prime attributes and humans get 3.
Bam! Heathen Dog with the win. Somebody give him an internet prize. I don't know, a heart or some emoji or something. I don't care.
1 month free at Pornhub.
1 month free at Pornhub. Balder, I'll get that to you.
Yeah,
a fighter rogue bard combination requires that a character have strength, dexterity, and charisma as prime attributes. A rogue assassin wizard combination requires a character have dexterity and intelligence. Uh-oh. Only 2, so why can't... Look, humans are more versatile. Get over it. All right. A multi-class character uses any weapon from the combined classes, armor, starting gold. Look, hit dice. Look, there's a reason why I'm not reading that off. Here we go. Here you hit dice. Let's say you're a barbarian wizard. That's your hit dice. So barbarian gets a D12 plus 5 every level afterwards at 9th. A wizard gets a D4 plus 1 every level after 9th. So now this character gets a D. I like this simplicity. Instead of rolling dice and dividing and so on and so forth, just follow the chart. You get a D8 and 3. You're a cleric now, effectively, right?
Sure.
Oh, but that's not all. Level progression and experience points. As with the normal classes, multi-class characters must acquire experience points to progress in levels. Multi-class characters are considered as single class and advance a single class irrespective of differing experience points progressions for the core classes. How does that work then? The experience point progression for a multi-class character is equal to the combination of the core class's experience points progression.
What?
Basically, you're doubling the amount of experience points you need to go up level, or tripling.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, it's like, the rogue, just like in old editions of D&D, has a very low scale. The wizard has a very high scale. But just for the ease of the argument, you're doubling. So instead of needing 2,000, now you need 4,000 to get to level 2. Right. And on top of that, plus the additional experience points listed below. If your 2 classes, 200. So if it went from 2,000 to 4,000 for doubling it, again, doubling is not the right answer for adding them together. You also have to add another 200 on there, so it'd be 4,200. 3 classes? Oh, 43. And look at how insane that gets later on. Yeah, they kind of punish the multi-classers.
Yeah. You don't want to do it.
For example, a fighter wizard advancing to 2nd level must acquire 4,801 experience points. At this point, the character acquires the benefits of 2nd level fighter and 2nd level wizard. We got that, right? I mean, sure. I think we understand that. Principal class, so you can also, there's a thing called class and a half. I'm not going to get into that. But let's say you want to play that thief that's a little bit more fighter, or a thief that can cast some spells. It's called class and a half. You can look it up. That's kind of a pretty advanced, not hard, but it's a pretty advanced concept that I don't want to get into here. Mm-hmm. All right. Where is it? Rule 1 Castle Keeper. There's one other rule I wanted to, this is all about the combinations. Okay, talks about combinations. Where is, yeah, so if you're doing a class and a half character, spellcasters can cast 2 0-level spells. So, because you're going to start off with one class being level 1 and the other one being level 0.
Okay.
So, no. There's something else I wanted to see. There's something else. Crap. It's about the multi-classing. Armor, line, monk, illusionist. Where is it? Knight supporting only gains horsemanship, but is not bound by any virtues or codes. That's weird. Where is it? And the thing is, I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. Well, I don't want to waste everybody's time on the stream. So
remember what it's about?
Will essentially be the character's real class. So that's the class and a half. I do not. I thought I was going to run into it. There was one other thing I wanted to say about multi-classing, but okay. Well, for the sake of argument, that's going to be it right there. Okay. Because now we're at the OGL stuff. So we have made it through.
Whole book. Look at that.
The whole book in 4 episodes. The last one was 2.5 hours. How long was this segment?
3, almost.
So about another 2.5 hours.
Oh, another 2.5 hours. Yeah.
God dang it! And we even skipped some things. Oh well.
We did.
Well, when I put it on YouTube, it's gonna be it's gonna be that long. So there we go.
You can split it up.
Nah.
Well, it'll help our metrics if you split it up.
Yeah.
All right.
You might be right. All right. Okay. So there we go. That's Castles and Crusades. Overall, I left that up there. Hey, eat just for a second.
Seems like a good game. Yeah, I mean, the vision thing is a nitpick, but the illusionist thing is a fucking travesty.
Well, you've also had your assassin commentary as well.
Yeah, and the assassin was awesome, and I learned on the AMA that they're basically all but getting rid of it. It's being relegated to the back of the book or some shit. It's not even going to be a true class anymore.
David Babb, I honestly, I don't remember. I really don't, and it's annoying me because I know there's one thing I wanted to point out about that one additional feature of the whole multi-class. Oh, it's training. So I'll just say it. Here's how training works. And it's not about multi-classes for all the characters.
Sure.
You're required to train for 1 week before you're allowed to pick up the abilities of your new level. So if you're going from level 6 to level 7, you must train for 7 weeks before you are allowed to have access.
Per level.
1 week per level. Yep.
Per level you are, or level you're going to?
Level you're going to.
Okay.
So I approve of this message. Some people don't like that. They just want to, I got the experience points, I should do it. Well, and I don't agree with some people that say you have to go find a trainer of a higher level and pay this much. No. It just says I think it says you've got to find a trainer. It might say something about money. I don't remember seeing that in there, but it just says you have to train for 7 weeks. Or if you go from 6 to 7, or 3 weeks, you're going from 2 to 3. So Krantz says it seems like a good game. Yeah, I like it. So here's how I put it in. I can't say I would run every game under the sun, right? I mean, that I don't have the time for that. I don't have the wherewithal for that, and so forth. So my opinion of Castles and Crusades is my first choice to run a game would probably be Forbidden Lands. I like the way it's put together. That's just my first choice to run a game. If somebody looks at it and says, I don't get D6s, I want to roll something with a D20, then I would break it down between, do I want it to be really crunchy old school, or do I want it to be a little bit easier, move forward cinematic? If I want it crunchy and really in your face gritty, I would do Astonishing Swordsman, Sorcerer, Hyperborea. If I want it to be a little bit less of that, but still deadly, I would do Castles and Crusades. So I right now, in going through it, I'm not saying it's in my top 3 games of all time. I'm just saying that's what I would run. I wouldn't run a Palladium game. I love Palladium. Don't get me wrong. I just wouldn't run a Palladium game. What are your thoughts?
Well, for a campaign type adventure, this is a good game. I like this game. The idea that all of the checks are based on your stats, and there's no extra stuff like skills or stuff like that to confuse and confound folks that are maybe even new. I like that. This game seems to be really, really easy to pick up the basics. Yes. Really easy to just hit the ground running. After a couple hours of the game master in the day 0 type deal, you make your character, you learn all the mechanics, and when the next game comes, you'll be able to roll and make some moves. So it's easy to learn. It's complex enough to handle some fidgety bits.
Didn't quite say it.
Yep.
So I look at very similar to that. I agree. One of the things that I always say that I like first and second edition AD&D, and I hate WotC D&D, right? I hate WotC first edition, WotC second edition, and now this WotC third edition bullshit that got out. But this game kind of fills that gap, because I don't think I've ever said, oh, THAC0 is the greatest thing ever. No, what I say is, if you whine about THAC0, you're a little baby and you can't do simple math. But I've never said THAC0 is the best thing ever. And with that comment absolutely deserves a subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. So I understand the validity and the desire to always want to roll higher. So no harm, no foul with that one. Other than that, it really has an old school feel. It's deadly, while still giving your character options to heal. It's if you looked at the spell descriptions and so forth, I know how you feel with the illusionist, but if you look at the spells, the casters have roles, and there are only 4 casters: 2 divine, 2 arcane. Sure, I'm sure there's an expansion. Somebody's going to post in the comments or chat right now, oh, in this book there are 8 more. I get it, but we're starting characters off. I think the only thing I would take out is going to probably make Heathen Dog cry, but I would take out the assassin. Not because I don't think it's a viable class, but I don't like characters like that in the game. I don't want somebody playing an assassin. Other than that, Legion in my games, players cannot multi-class unless they can just how they came across second class. The rogue who wanted levels and fighters use downtime to train a fighter in the group, for example. Again, every game master has his or her own way.
Like I said, the whole thing is optional.
Yep.
The whole thing is optional, so you can do whatever you want with it.
You should run a short adventure and then give a review. We can see you're new to the channel. not saying that disparagingly. Heathen Dog and I, so first of all, I live in Germany, so it is almost 9 p.m. right now. Heathen Dog lives in some weird part of the United States that I'm not sure. I think they have internet there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is 3 p.m. here.
It is 3 p.m. where he is. On top of that, neither of us, we're both old grognards. I know I don't look it. I know I look like I'm in my 20s.
Exactly. Yeah, you do.
But 47 here. And I don't like Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or is it called Atlas? What's the other one? I don't find that to be role playing. Now, with that said, we have been getting a lot of people asking us to do this. People keep doing it. It's going to be hard for us to say no for the long term. However, and this is going to sound greedy as hell. Maybe I should have Heathen Dog say this part because he tends to be the more monetarily induced person. We do have.
Yes. Do you really want us to play a game on stream? Do you really want that? Do you? Well, guess what? You can have it. You can have anything in this world you want because this is capitalism in action. You want us to take our pants off on stream? Fine.
Whoop.
No. Everyone has a price.
Okay, fair enough.
Mine? Go ahead. Donate some money.
Not up there yet.
We get enough money. I will convince Max that no, this is the level of money where we role play.
Look, you knew me back in the days when I'd do anything for $1.
Yes.
Nobody said that's gone yet.
Exactly.